This conference will now be recorded.
We'll begin with the flag salute. We'll wait just a second, let Commissioner Dalton. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll call the Marion County Commission Payday meeting of February 28th to order. We'll start with Payday.
Okay. Okay, the first thing I have is the sales tax. Oops, see that? Sales tax is $87,209.94. And that would be from December. Then the next thing, before we approve the payday, I have pay application number 8 for the EMS station, which is included in the payroll figure. So I just wanted to have the approval of this before we approve payday.
We have a motion to approve pay application number 8 for EMS station.
And the amount is $22,401.20.
Is that the retainage?
No, that's not.
Retainage. Retainage is 49.
Well, that's the balance. I don't know if there's more besides the retainage.
So everything's 100% of that, so it's just got
Yeah.
the retainage. All right.
I'm actually doing something.
Make a motion to approve application number 8 for the EMS
I know,
station.
right? This guy over
Second.
here.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gary, seconded by Commissioner Becker to approve pay application number 8. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, and then we do have some invoices for Western Associates. The total is $48.
Motion to approve Western Associate $48 on order fees.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Garing, second Commissioner Dalton to approve Western Associates in an amount of $48 even. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Abstain.
Four in favor, 1 abstention.
I seen his hand go up in the corner of my eye.
After both of these, if the next one's approved or anything, we'd just like to see them and prove to the public what's going on, what's being purchased in these kind of deals. Just if you could show the receipts or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want that right now?
No, at some time. After this, they'll probably approve, both of them probably approved, but I'd just like to see what and say in the meeting what we're doing with them so people understand why we're doing this.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand. So
Right.
besides the report, you want the actual
Invoices.
voucher
Yeah,
boards for those to be in the meeting?
My first question would be, it says beanies.
What?
I don't know if that's a company.
Oh, that's emergency management?
My question being is if I'm paying $23 for one beanie, I want to know that.
There are 2 meetings.
Okay, I don't know that. See,
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
see,
Mine is different.
that's why I'm asking that question,
The other one I couldn't.
because just to look at that, it looks like I'm paying $23 per beanie.
Okay,
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So
all right, that's fine. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, I didn't know if you wanted me to bring those vouchers in here for you to look at so you would know right now what you're,
yeah, I'm going to approve it no matter what because emergency management's bought it and stuff like that.
okay.
He's probably right though.
I mean, just having the invoices, usually it's not that many, it'll just be attached.
You want them in the packet?
I'm all for extra scrutiny on my deal, so
Is that what you need to?
Yes, yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay,
just because I need to make sure it's as transparent as possible.
okay.
And that's all it is, about transparency.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure I understood what
I
it
can't
was.
always tell you about doing
All that being said, I'll make a motion to approve Elcon Services, $290 for courthouse LED lamp.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Becker, second by Commissioner Dahlke. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
4 in favor, 1 abstention.
Simple this time.
Okay.
I could see that after Randy said, because it said LED lamp, and I'm pretty sure there's more than one in.
I'm pretty sure too.
But
Well, and we only have so much room for our descriptions.
There you go, and I understand that,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay,
That's a good start, you know, that way we do.
Yep.
okay, so then I have the grand total payday, which is 1,205,312.60. And of course, the report is in your packet, and before you approve, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to, you know, get documentation or answer questions.
Questions?
Oops. Oh, man.
Questions?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh.
It's all self-explanatory.
Oh, okay.
In my eyes, somebody else may have a question.
I'll go with the third call for questions. If there's no questions, do we have a motion to approve payday in the amount of $1,205,312.60?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker, further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. That's the purple one, right?
Yes,
Still running.
and then here's the payroll. And the comp time report is there for you to look at.
I'm just grateful the book is light. Not wrong.
While we're passing books, just checking with you, Tina, on the agenda. We got a work session coming up, and you can have executive sessions in work sessions.
Yes.
Okay, all right, just checking. Just.
And if you need to take action, you can always, when you approve your agenda, if you need to add another administrative time to the end, if there's actions that you need to take today. Because I don't believe that during the work session that you generally will take
No.
action.
No.
So if there's something you need to do, you can also add another administrative type time to the end if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
You can take the action to go in and out of an executive session.
When I seen that bill, I also seen it $400 bill too, so I said, yeah,
Yeah. But one was,
yeah.
We do have some change orders today. signature on that pay application, please. You have already taken action to approve the renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I just need the chairman's signature on the paperwork to move forward with that. I don't believe there's any motion required.
We need a motion on
I don't think you need one. If you want to though, I mean, it's fine. Did you need to do anything different with your agenda approval?
Yeah, I just gonna think we just had something like administrative discussion.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Right at the end.
Or administrative business?
Administrative business at the end, yeah. Otherwise, agenda, good with the commission.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, then I have the minutes of February 22nd.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of February 22nd?
Make a motion to approve with no discussion.
Okay, motion from Commissioner Dalkey to approve, second Commissioner Garren. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
This for your signature up at the top.
Thank you.
Okay, so the white notebook is the department inventory. And by statute, that is to be approved in February by the board. Today's the last day of February. So it was also in your packet. And I just wanted to have a little bit of discussion too about that process, because this is the process we've always used ever since before I was in office as clerk. But I think that there's probably some revisions that would be helpful to the process. If you want to pass those down. Because as everything else in our lives here at the county, this process is governed by statute. And the statute, as I was reading on Friday when I was putting your packet together, it says that the inventory shall be taken during December and filed in the county clerk's office before December 31st. And that the commission is to take the written inventory and then go check the different departments. It doesn't mean you check every item, and it also says you can delegate that, but then you sign off on it at the end of February. And so we haven't ever done that process since I've been here. We've always just done it during January and February, and then you all have just signed off on it. But the process itself is a bit clunky that we use, and I feel like there's probably a better way to do it. But I've already got Judy to change her calendar, so we'll be doing it at the end of the year next year. instead of the beginning of the, or this year, instead of the beginning of the year next year.
How is the feedback from your departments? Not just on, I mean, not on this, just how do, because we have had some over the past that has not responded and didn't care to do it.
We just keep hounding them, and to be honest, I was the very last one to get my inventory in this time. But they know where I live.
Yeah.
They know I'm not gonna skip it, but.
Yeah.
So the process generally is the beginning January, we send out the existing sheets from the previous year,
Yeah.
ask them to update, ask every department to review, update by adding, deleting, whatever. And then return them for us to make the corrections, and then once we do that, then we have a signed, completed copy. And it is, the process is smooth for some departments, and for others it's not smooth. And then if people don't keep track in their departments over the course of the year, then things don't get on. And so we also try to do a double check through our accounts payable to verify that what we've purchased, and if there's something missing on the inventory that we know we bought this year, we're following up with that department to say, hey, why is this not on your inventory? But there still needs to be a check and balance, because somebody needs to be able to have eyes on that equipment at some point.
Yep.
And they need to be able to go in and say, we
You
would
have
like to
attention.
see where this is, and look at it and make sure that it's.
Those
there.
inventories just under the control of the department head? I mean,
Yes, they're the ones responsible for updating their sheets.
is there, when they do their inventory, is that a dual control? More than one person doing the inventory?
They don't go around and physically count everything. They just, you basically, you look at what's there, you recall what you've done this year, and then you make the adjustments of that. So like I said, it's not a great process. It's the process we've always used, but I think that we need to do better.
And I can tell you from experience, when someone leaves, it's pretty important.
Right.
The point you're bringing up, Ken, is very interesting. We've always trusted our department heads, but,
Well,
The
You
dual
know,
control comes in under statute with the commission
yeah.
being
Yeah,
the ones to
yeah,
go
yeah.
check that.
I just think it's always better to have more than one person,
I mean, like all the radios in the firearms,
you know,
somebody should touch each one of those.
kind of a dual control type thing.
I have to wholeheartedly agree that maybe we need to send a letter out stressing this. If you have work with another department to take a quick look at all the years, so another department could, another person, I don't know who it would be. I'm just saying, I said department, but I meant anybody could,
Yeah.
as long as it's from another.
Well, you don't want somebody from the same.
No, not
Two
from the same
people.
department, yeah, it would be another department or some kind, so. Very good point, Ken, I appreciate that.
Right.
This is right.
Now, the county doesn't, you don't depreciate them, you just use the retail value for everything.
Right, we don't do depreciation or anything
Okay.
like that. This is just basically trying to account for what we have.
So it never goes away.
Right. Right. The values, we just put in the new and when
Yeah.
it was purchased, so we never track it down, so.
It doesn't follow the depreciation schedule.
No, we never have. I don't know if other counties do that, but mainly the purpose of it is just to know what
What's that?
we're supposed to
What
have
we're supposed to have.
and to make sure that and
Seems like
it's
the sheriff's
by
department.
statute, the commission's job to make sure that we do have it.
That would make sense, because the government, you wouldn't have depreciation, you would have spent the
Turn it over
taxpayer's
to
dollar,
file cabinets.
and it needs to be reported somewhere.
So anyway,
But they're variable too.
we'll be adjusting our timing of this, but
Yeah.
I would encourage the commission to maybe come up with a system or a person to check a few of these things now and then. Because,
That might be another thing too, yeah.
because you're welcome to take that book and go to
Yeah.
a department and ask to see their things. And by statute, you have, that is your
Right.
right.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
I,
so,
The only thing I noticed on there was probably just holdovers from last year, but locations. There was a few items that weren't, I think are obviously
Okay.
not right.
Which ones?
So we got a page 13 on Road and Bridge.
I don't know which order they are in.
Sorry.
That's
Kinda
okay, it's probably
alphabetical.
towards the back, I bet. Okay,
So at the line 3 and 4, it says
yeah,
location.
yeah.
I mean, and then,
And those, that's good to note, because and those are things that the department should be
right,
updating, those locations too.
and I'm just picking on the ones that I know a little bit.
Right,
I don't know,
right.
it could be this way for everybody.
It probably is, because like I said, the process is not smooth.
The big thing is to do a true inventory and not just look at the sheet.
Right.
Because there's always gonna be additions, there's always gonna be deletions.
Yeah.
And there's stuff on there that I'm sure we probably don't even have anymore.
Well,
But
here's-
you go through that, you know, and you just,
Need to get up out of the chair, go look at it.
Here's another problem that we have, is there's no really specific procedure or specific guideline of what exactly you need to put on your inventory, because we don't inventory everything. Like if it's under a $50 under item, and we're not inventorying everything, and I don't know, like we have our battery backups on there in the clerk's office, that not every department does. They're not, I mean, they're under $200. So developing some sort of a set thing that we say, because the statute says you don't count your stationery and office
Well,
supplies, you know, but that's like,
Battery backups are disposable too.
Right,
They're
exactly.
consumer items.
you replace them frequently.
Consumable.
And so having a set standard of, well, what do we count and what don't we count is helpful too, and we don't really have that, so.
3 pages up, on page 1 of 1.
Page one, oh, I'm going down, sorry. Oopsie.
3 pages.
Was it
Yeah.
recycling?
Yeah, so then you got Burns, Durham, Florence, Gossel.
Right, and those are all,
I know that they were designated to those locations, but they don't go out there.
The South Shop events.
So, it was just some of the things I picked up on. I didn't know
Yeah.
how pressing it was, but it would be nice for it to be cleaned up.
Just asking as a general feeling, the commission, would they accept a motion to accept what we have this year, but to move forward with some change, or?
I think we should, at this point, we're gonna have to accept it, but maybe make some changes going down the road. I mean,
And by statute, I think that's just how it's gonna be.
yeah.
I should have addressed the department heads to work on this all year long.
We do give that guidance, but it's
Yeah.
hard to do. I
Because,
mean,
you
it's
know,
really hard to do.
Same thing in us.
when a department is buying or getting rid of something, that mindset, oh, wait a minute, I need to go in and change inventory.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You know, and
Maybe we need to develop a monthly process throughout the year, which I hate to add more, but,
Yeah.
you know, if you do it every month as part of your payday,
What we do, we keep a notebook of everything new we buy. Then at the end of the year, we can go back and
yeah.
look at it. I mean, you make a copy and put it over here.
We do that too. We're massive, we're just so massive.
Yeah.
You know, we're
That's
so
just it.
massive.
Let's take the Greensburg tornado, when the courthouse was hit up there. Would something to this effect be something to rely on, or is the insurance only report would be the?
So for insurance, we do try to compare our inventory with our insurance, list of items that are covered, or the list of equipment, but it's obviously, there's not ever gonna be every
yeah,
equipment.
there's no
there's,
I mean, you look through here, you can find lots of different stuff, but even like in the sheriff's office, with all of the weapons that we buy, and, you know, some of them are delegated to deputy so-and-so, and there's some of them there that are just there.
Yeah.
So,
I would go ahead and make a motion to approve the inventory.
I'll second.
2022.
We have a
for
motion-
2021.
21. We have a motion from Commissioner Garing, second, Commissioner Becker. Further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
okay. And there is a sheet in the front of the book.
Yeah, I've got
for
it.
you all to sign.
We're coming back.
Thank you. Sure.
Very small notebook for all the inventory.
Because I think the very first one that I ever seen was a thick dude for inventory.
Oh, we have a thicker one.
Yeah.
I think we just, this is just the
Yeah,
current
this year-
year.
this year, yeah.
Mhm. The thick one has.
No, that had
multiple
multiple years.
Well, we see it.
Yeah.
Every year we get those from the county, and we have to justify it.
Oh, I think this could be I don't know, is this a project for the commission, or is this a policy for the commission, or, I mean, I'd like to write something on the board sometime. What's that?
Inventory report.
Inventory? For the list,
Well, if they get it turned in by 31st of December, then that would give us a month or two to.
We need to go take a look at everything.
Morning, Kristen.
All right, guys.
Okay, I'll take a step back. We'll find a place up there for you.
Well, I have just a couple quick things. The first thing is, there is a leadership conference directed specifically for public health. It's a free conference through Wichita State. It's 8 days and over different months, like starting in April through June. So for that conference, you have to have approval from your supervisor or direct leadership person that you look to. So that's why I'm here for that part, is to get your guys' authorization to do it. It is, like I said, it's free, the meals are provided. You just have to get the okay. And
So move that one, okay, just because I think it's a great chance to network too, especially being in a new position.
And it came highly recommended through like the KHE, public health nurses, and through the seasoned public health people, so.
Okay, motion Commissioner Garing to approve the request for training, second by Commissioner Dahlke. Further discussion?
Appreciate bringing this to us, and as you grow with us, we like to know what you're doing too, so we appreciate that very much, bringing it to us.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Is there a paperwork that you need to have signed for that?
No, I just have to be able to write down that I got it authorized and by
Okay.
who.
All right.
So.
It'll be in the minutes too. So.
Okay. The second thing is our registered dietitian, Sherry Moody, I don't know if any of you know her, she is retiring at the end of March, so that's another whammy. And since she's been with the health department for so long, we do not have a job description, so I had to create one. Go ahead and pass those down.
This was in your packet.
Yes.
You didn't make any changes from the one since you sent it to us, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Was she full-time?
She's part-time, and so finding someone to fill this
I can
position
just
is
throw
going to
papers
be
away.
very difficult.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the state today about it. I've talked to multiple counties, including Dickinson County, Butler County, Harvey County, McPherson County. And all those, like Dickinson gets their registered dietitian out of Salina. Person gets theirs through Reno County. Butler County said that their person doesn't want any more hours. I talked to the one registered dietitian that I know in the county of Marion, so if you guys know any registered dietitians, please send them my way. But there are very few of them out there. And we have to have a registered dietitian see all of our high-risk WIC clients, whether that's 1 day a month. And right now Sherry was doing the WIC clients for multi-county, like for Chase County and Morris County. So they also lose their service. upon her retirement. And depending on if we get a person that wants to do that, or if they don't wanna do that, or if they're just wanting less hours, it's all kind of dependent on who we get.
Have you talked to those two counties yet?
Sherry had sent over to them that she's resigning, but I have not gotten their input of who they're getting or what their plan is, but they are aware.
Just for other departments, we've even, back years ago before me, appraiser we shared with Morris County at one time, but I think this position here, sure looks like a good position. The way you've been doing it as a shared position would be great. If other counties wanna follow along or something like that, I think anybody would be open to however plan you come up with. I mean, in my opinion.
And then on Chase and Morris though, I mean, it's administered through us,
It's administered through
so,
our county.
Yeah.
And it will be dependent on who we get, if they're willing to take on those hours, but we do have to have them for any high-risk clients.
And I think there's
just
probably
like
an agreement,
35%.
isn't there an agreement that you
They have
might
a
check that,
contract.
because if there's a contract with those other counties, then you're gonna need to make sure we know that's in.
It goes back a long ways. It's been that way. Yeah, it does go back a long ways.
Yeah, Morris, we've been doing for a really long time. Chase is a shorter time, just a few years that we've been doing Chase.
And so I will need to get approval on, our job description.
That's generally done by motion and vote at the
Okay.
board.
Have you looked through it, Tina?
Yes, I don't have any concerns with the job description.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I would make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dahlke to approve the licensed registered dietitian job description. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Marion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
And also with this position, so we can, by the state WIC rules, we can have a registered nurse see the other clients that are not high risk, and depending on what happens with our nurse position, we'll see, maybe we can slide that person into the low risk clients to see them, and just have a dietitian see the others, just because finding one is so difficult, and I don't know that they want a ton of hours.
Does nursing homes all have to have it?
They do, and a lot of theirs is kind of like a contract type basis as well.
Okay.
The dietitian here in town, she does a hospital and 2 nursing homes, but it's by no means a full-time job.
Right.
And then, the other thing I was just gonna give you guys an update, we only have 11 active cases in our county currently for COVID, so we'll call that a win.
Good job.
And CDC is kind of shifting their guidance toward an endemic phase instead of pandemic. And I know that barring there's no new variants of concern, I think that you'll see more of that shift happening. And so they have kind of changed their masking guidance through CDC starting Friday. So that's exciting news, and we're classified as a medium level. And if you guys have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them.
I noticed that Salina was dropping their reporting, Saline County. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know. I think everything's kind of going that way. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much resources and time need to be put to that.
Right now, we've been doing the 2 cases, or the 2 times per week of our reporting, like on our Facebook pages. But, I'll keep you guys posted. I don't know if going away from that, or going down to 1 time a week, or what your thoughts on that are.
Thank you.
Maybe once, every Wednesday or something, but that would, you'd catch all the weekend activity and
Okay.
be up to date.
As long as the shift keeps going that way, why, I would agree to something to that effect, change it to where it's, best time.
Okay. We do have some home testing kits at the health department. If anyone's interested, you just come by the health department and you can pick them up. We posted it to our Facebook page. Also, I'll be posting about the CDC guidance to the basic page today too, so everyone's aware, and that's all I have today.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You won this last day is Friday.
One's last day is Friday.
Are you scared?
I'm just preparing myself mentally. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This is a big folder. Do have the encumbrances. Our practice over the last few years has been to cancel any outstanding encumbrances as of February 28th, so that all of our county financials can be prepared. And so anything still outstanding as an encumbrance would just would have to be paid out of the 2022 budget rather than the 2021 budget. So in your packet, we did have the information about the encumbrances that were approved at the top of, I don't know what page this is. It's right above the job description, so it's the third page from the last of the packet. And so we had encumbered out of the general fund $52,140.44, including the $17,130.80 for the retainage for the heated dock. We still do not have that invoice, and so of that, so there's that column over there for canceled. The judicial department, we spent $2 less than what they had encumbered on one invoice, and then we have that $17,130 still outstanding. So we're looking at canceling those balances, and then for ambulance, the retainage of the EMS building. And so everything else was turned in and paid. So the amount to cancel is,
So you're
yeah, it's the
canceling.
$66,970.13.
Canceling all the retainage on the heated dock.
All of it. Cause we encumbered it, it doesn't mean we're not paying it, it just means that
Okay.
we're gonna pay it out of the 2022 budget instead of 2021.
How does that affect the
Yeah.
ambulance?
I was just like, wow, they
It doesn't.
They cut that much out of the budget?
No.
Good job,
Roll it into-
guys.
No,
But
It's-
50,000 out of the ambulance, right? 49?
yes, but we intended to pay part of that building out of this year, not all out of last year. So
Oh.
it's actually better for their budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause I know that's where he's, was wanting to do some for last year, but I didn't know.
Yeah, and we've done the majority of the
Yeah.
whole project out of last year, which I need to, when I do the financials, I'm gonna verify that that's workable, and if it's not, I'm gonna be coming back to you.
Okay,
To say, we
okay.
need to, you know,
Okay.
change that, but,
Right. I think the park can handle theirs, but,
well, and that, actually, we paid out of the general fund, because, at the time, the full amount of the project was so large that their budget couldn't handle that for budget authority, so we paid the whole thing out of the general fund, and that's where we've deposited the insurance payments, just because we have more flexibility in spending there.
okay.
So anyway, I would need a motion to vote if the board is in favor of canceling the outstanding encumbrances in the amount of $66,970.13.
And we got the check for this, from this insurance, they're paid out?
Yes,
Yes,
and they didn't pay more than what they said they would.
okay, they did,
No.
okay. Okay.
Jesus.
So do we have a motion to approve?
So it'd be
Cancellation.
canceled then.
$66,970.13.
Correct.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Gearing, second by Commissioner Becker. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So we had put off the approval of the agreement for the tax sale, and I think Brad is gonna be, we just need to make sure that we ask Brad about that when he's back, because we don't want to delay that.
Right.
That contract. And the last couple I know I have kind of a lot, but I figure we have some time today, so I hope that's okay.
Yes.
So on the items for future discussion, there are a few things there. We have offered an optional benefit for Legal Shield, which is an identity theft. There's a company that provides that. Employees can purchase that through payroll deduction. And that company has a gun owner supplement that they are asking if we want to offer. And I might not have given that to you. I didn't really want to just, what benefits we offer is up to you guys. So I wanted to ask you if that's something that you're interested in doing or not. So this doesn't have to be decided today, but we do have open enrollment coming up, so I probably need to be able to answer that by next week or so. The cost for the coverage is, I think it costs the employee $12.95 a month if they want that, and there's a little sheet there on what it covers. So it kind of covers them for legal situations that arise out of them having and using a firearm. With certain exclusions. So that's something that I will want the commission to let me know if that's something you want to offer as an optional benefit. And then the life insurance, I did want to talk to you about the life insurance benefit that the county offers. We have forever, like even when I worked here in the 90s, there has been a $5,000 county paying life insurance policy for all full-time people. That amount has never changed. And as you know, $5,000 really doesn't do much of anything. Doesn't pay for a funeral typically. And so I didn't know if you want to keep providing that benefit, it doesn't cost the county very much. But do you want to consider bumping up to like a $15,000 benefit?
What would be the cost?
The cost for the whole year to bump up from 5 to 15, there'd be about an increase of about $3,600 for the whole year for the county.
Wow.
To jump that up.
It's pretty cheap.
It's pretty cheap.
Just for background information, how many have we had in the last 5 years? That employees that collect?
In the last 5 years, I'd have to check a handful maybe.
Handful.
Yeah, maybe not quite.
In the
3 or 4.
situation we've just had, is that the amount that would be paid?
It would be 5,000, or it depends on the age of it. It does reduce at a certain age.
Oh, discrimination.
Did you say it would increase it by $3,600?
Yes, so that it
So
would
the
increase the
total's-
county's cost by $3,600. That policy costs us $1.35 a person at $5,000.
Isn't-
That's per month.
One of those things, maybe we ought to be self-insured, because what's the total? If we're increasing $3,600.
I can get you the total amount. It's not very
If it was
much.
$2,000 before, so you're talking $5,000. Worst case scenario, you had one death, you know,
If you had
Yeah.
in
one
3 years.
car accident with 4 people in it.
Right. You could almost shell out the $15,000 on your own and be breaking even in 3 years. And
Yeah,
don't-
but that's weird.
I know, but it's
That's coming from businessman's side.
I'm just thinking of dollars.
Okay, so it's just something to think about.
Not, you said increase 3,600.
Yep.
But even at $1.30, what'd you say about?
It would go from, we've been paying $1.35 a person,
So it's only $100.
Yeah,
I mean-
I mean, for all of our
100.
employees, for the whole year.
But $100 total, 150, maximum $200 at $1.35.
A month.
Oh, a month, okay, $12 times
A
100,
month,
okay.
yeah, a month.
Okay. What, if you see the interesting numbers that he's talking about, see what the big picture is here, and see what it would do. I mean, I see his point. I was just taking it a year times $1.35, I was gonna say it wouldn't,
No,
but if it's times 12 times 100.
yeah, it'd be 100, like 110 people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there support from the commission to at least explore increasing the life insurance
Yes.
amount?
Yes.
We have full consensus to
Okay.
explore that.
I'll give you some numbers, so you know what it was
Yep.
before,
Yep.
what it would be.
Right.
And then you can decide if
Right.
that's, I mean, if otherwise, I mean, I don't even almost see the point of offering it at all.
No.
It's not a benefit that is desirable or really helpful, in my opinion. It might be a little bit helpful, but.
Give you standards.
Also offering that county paid, when we pay that for everyone, that helps us get better rates on our short-term disability policy. That's an optional benefit that people can purchase. Those usually kind of go hand in
So
hand
there
with
is
the
a
same,
side benefit.
with the same carrier. So that's probably why we've always had it.
Yeah.
Increasing it might give us a little bit better rate on the short-term disability. But I don't know if dropping it, what that would do to our short-term disability rates, so, okay.
Since you're bringing it up, Tina.
Yep.
What is our county policy on carrying a gun? I
You mean the employee policy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Job.
Yeah, I mean, period.
There have been some changes in the gun laws, and so I'd have to review all of that. I mean, I don't know that policy right off the top of my head. It doesn't come up very often, but we do have a policy.
You have a person walking around right here that has a holster on it.
We can't prohibit carrying in a building if you don't have the proper security and the ability to post it on your building. Even
Right.
if they're an employee and you have it in your policy, you can't prohibit it by law, by the new gun laws. So
Yeah.
it's something that we need to address at some point.
Yeah.
You might be surprised how many more got one in the purse.
Yeah, yeah. The numbers have increased in the last 10,
We got
15 years.
2 or 3 in all of us. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I don't know, I'll probably just ask you about this next week unless you want to say something about it
Give
now.
us some time to review.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
The employee pays for that.
Yes.
It's good.
I've been pushing
I
everybody a lot.
don't have a gun.
I think anything like that you can offer to an employee and they're willing to pay for it, why not offer it?
Okay, so that was a motion. Yeah. Commissioner Garing made a motion to
Allow the gun shield to be part of benefit package.
Second.
And that is at the
Employees' cost.
employee's cost. Very
Right.
good. Motion by Commissioner Garing, second by Commissioner Becker. Further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay.
I just want to put it in the book.
Very
That's
good.
great, thank you.
Appreciate
If anything that you're ready to move forward on is
it.
great.
Make Tina and me very happy.
Here is the last thing that I have, oh wait, there's not the last thing. Okay, the county, you have not talked about the county contribution level for the health insurance. So this is just to start thinking about, because we're gonna need a decision on it before too long. So I'm giving you 2 sheets. One is the current rates and the county contribution. What I've got here says draft on it. That's if we don't increase the employee's contribution at all, what the county contribution is. I don't have grand totals here. I can get them. But I just wanted you to be able to see what the employees are paying out of pocket. Okay?
Last year, we picked up the increase, the county did.
I believe so, yep. So, if you could take one of each of those.
Okay.
I'm gonna, I think, 2, I guess.
Get yours.
So here's the current, and then what he's got, what's coming to you first is the draft if we don't cause any changes to the employee contributions with the current. And I'll have to get you some figures, but I didn't know what you wanted to see as far as costing for the county. If you tell me if any kind of scenarios you want to see, I can try to figure the impact to the budget for another meeting.
just to help that I'm understanding it correctly. So under our current one, on option one, if you're on a single policy, the county is paying 87.6% of the premium, is that correct? Am I reading it right?
Yes.
And if you're doing a family policy, the county is paying 58.9%.
Yes. And then, oh, you can see.
Oh my gosh, I heard so many great deals about my work is getting fair together, we're getting, driving Payday. I heard so many stories over the years. I would just sit over there at that chair next to me, that little sparkle in his eyes, and just laugh, and that's what I'm gonna,
What's the
that's what I'm gonna.
overall increase in the
He was a great leader.
expense, I guess, for the year?
I haven't figured that because I wasn't really sure. That's what I mean. If you let me know what kind of options you want me to figure, if you want me to figure just this, or if there's any other things that you want to see for the impact of the budget, then.
You didn't put
that's-
no, you took the same percentages and put on the new one.
No,
No.
the percentages are different. I put the new premiums in and said, and basically the new one shows that if we don't increase the employee's cost, what the county would pay per policy, what the employee pays per policy, and those percents. And I have not given you an overall budget impact on that because I wasn't really sure if that's the direction you wanted, what you wanted to see there. So if you let me know what you want to see, I can show you for the next meeting the impact to the county budget.
What percentage did we increase the budget for this year? It was a certain amount.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, if we can absorb most of that increase without.
We did a budget enough to absorb the increase. I know that. I just don't remember the exact
Yeah.
figure, that percentage that I put
I
in.
mean, if we budgeted enough to take care of the impact of the increase, I wouldn't be in favor of raising the employee level.
And I can prepare documentation of the impact of this draft that I did. I just didn't know if there's any other scenarios that you want to see.
Is there any interest on the part of the commission to increase the county's participation or payment of the family portion?
That's the one we've struggled with.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
If we could, it would be great. If we could help some more on that side.
Would there be interest in having Tina run some scenarios with some options?
If you would run that through there, run the percentage and see where we would at, figure the budget, like go up another 5% on the, or 10%, whatever you did on the family policy, and then see how that would affect the budget. Is that what you're asking for, Dave?
Yes, that is.
I think that would be worth looking at and see either 5 or 10 or however you can figure it. I guess if 5, you just double it. And you know where it was at.
And it may be a thing, like Kent's saying with the budget, you know, maybe we can't do a lot this year, but if we have those numbers run when we do budgets for next year, then maybe we could budget for a 5 or 10% increase in the family plan.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if we can put it in, even put it under this year's budget that we adopted. It'd be interesting to see where it's at.
I'm seeing a real advantage to helping our younger employees with families. It's a tremendous benefit,
Your recruiting tool
a
too.
very important recruiting tool. And it'd be interesting to see the impact.
Okay.
Did that give you a little?
Yes,
direction?
anything else? Looks like.
Not unless you bring it up.
So what I'm understanding is run it to where you want to see this without increasing anything to employees.
Exactly.
What that impact is, and then also what the impact would be if we're able to increase, whether we're able to increase the family
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. That will help, and then I can have some other information for you later so that you can make a decision. Okay. The last thing that I had on my talking point here was the active 911 subscriptions
Mhm.
for the fire departments. That is something that active 911 was implemented, and some of the fire departments, they did not budget for it, and so at the time Sheriff Kraft said that we would pay for it. We paid for that out of sales tax. I don't believe it was just to be forever the county pays for that. And we haven't been paying for it for some of, it's not been consistent. So we've had, I think, 1 or 2 fire districts that have turned that in recently. And our office has said, we'll go ahead and pay it, but you probably need to start budgeting for that in the future. It's not a high cost item, and they have their own budget and their own levy money to be able to do that, so.
When did that start?
So that started, 19, I think, 18 or 19. It looks like 2019 is the earliest invoice I have. So, again, so I just had Ashley run what we've paid so far. So for Fire District 6, we've paid in, there is an invoice in 2018, so it must have been in 2018. So for Fire District number 6, we paid 2 times, once in 18 and once in 20, both under $200. For five.
Was it a?
It was something, no,
statute or-
I don't know, it was just a change that was made in dispatch, and I don't know what triggered it. I don't have.
thought we were paying them off our phone bills.
Well, we pay a 911 fee, this is a specific service, I don't know exactly what it
Well,
does.
do you do budgets for any other districts anymore?
I do, yeah, I do
It's-
for,
It's not like it's something they don't know about.
they do know about it, right. Fire number 2, which is Gossel, we've paid $273 in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Also, we paid, we paid them all 5 years. They're about the only ones we paid every year. Fire District 5, we've paid twice, $156 each time. Fire 7, we've paid twice, 3 times.
Is it done by population, is it?
No, it's just by, whenever they decide to turn in an invoice, we've been reimbursing them, and, but this is gonna be an ongoing district expense, and they need to be tracking it and
Well, yeah.
budgeting for it,
They all
so.
have their own budget.
So if I misspoke, I'm sorry, but I just basically said, we'll go ahead and pay it, but in the future, please budget. And I feel like that's appropriate. Fire 1, Durham Fire, we paid 3 times. There's the totals. Okay, so anyway, that's the situation on that. In case any of you get phone calls, I just wanted to let you know, that was the conversation. We haven't said, no, we're not gonna pay your bill this year. We just said, be budgeting for that in the future.
Why the amounts?
I don't know how that's based. I don't know what
Number-
determines the
number of
amounts.
volunteers or something?
Yeah, there are. It all started with, when they switched the radio
Switched over to the new
frequencies.
system.
Yeah, so this is an app on your phone. It's an awesome app. It's active. You can, the local fire department, they have all of their volunteers on it. Tells them where they're at, how quick they can be there. So it's a very, very useful tool. So the billing comes back at so much per
Subscription, probably per
subscription.
device.
Per
Yeah.
So if you have
whatever.
11 volunteers, that's that times.
So if the board wants the county to just say that this is an expense that we're gonna pay for indefinitely, then I'm good with that, but I just need,
No, I think they can budget for those. I don't think there's a district out there that can't budget that. We're not talking about thousands of dollars.
Yeah, we're also dealing with a lot of volunteers, so I'm just trying to keep that in mind.
Right, that's a part of what it is. Okay,
I'm
volunteers
volunteering to run the
fire truck, but, you know, volunteering to run the books is a different story.
Yeah, they carry a, you know, what if the radio is $2,000 radio and you're out there in the feedlot, well, you're gonna leave your radio in your truck and you're gonna carry your phone. You know, so you get your page on your phone. So they're protecting their high-dollar radios. It's a tricky question. And it's a very, very important tool. It's a very valuable tool. But then again, too, is it consistent across all of the fire departments? Is it consistent with? I'm asking for direction. But there's a lot more to it than just yes or no.
I'm gonna go from another side of that, Dave, that you're talking about, is that over the years, every fire department in this county has wanted newer equipment and stuff, and that's great, I have no problem with that. But they need to, what Kent's at is, they need to sit with their board and figure this out. I think Peabody, the city completely has gotten rid of the coverage for themselves. They've turned it over to the 4th Fire District, and their district budget is gonna go up. So but I think it's a thing of the people need to understand that you can't have that high-dollar equipment out there without having money. I mean, there's just no way. And so, I think that we need better fire boards to prepare for the kind of future ahead, whether this is part of it or not. I'm sort of have to agree with it. They need to prepare for it.
Yeah, I think when it first started, they probably just didn't understand. That's why they just started turning them in and not thinking that needs to be part of the budget. But, you know,
it was also part of
Tina
the
sees most of those budgets.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what the phone calls to me are, is it all ties back to the radio change.
Yes, yes. And
And
I think
there's
you're right.
areas where they don't have reception. And they've been after me, the county needs to spend millions of dollars on towers and repeaters, and,
Yeah.
well, this is kind of a way around that.
Yeah.
It's a tool for those low reception areas. So it then becomes an argument to, in my mind, what I struggle with is, okay, what's the better route for the county? Do we pay, you know, some money here, a couple thousand here, or do we do the $1 million for? And again, I'm just
Yeah.
telling you what I'm struggling with.
And there was quite a change from having coverage to where they didn't have some, and that was part of that. Yeah, you're on the right track, Dave.
But again, I want to make it, whatever we do, that it's fair. I mean, Kent, you're exactly right.
Well, even with the cell phone, so, you know, there's areas they're gonna be in, they
Sure.
have no coverage,
Sure.
even with that cell phone.
Sure, that's true too. That's true too. So,
So it comes down from the new radios, basically, I mean, is what started this 911.
I think you're right.
yes.
Okay, then how much say did the fire departments have in the new radios? Sounds like they should be billed for something that they didn't.
That's the argument
Yeah.
I'm getting.
If they got handed something and they gotta accept it, and they're finding a solution or a way around it, I don't think we should.
I mean, there's two good sides to that. You know, of course, if we wanted to do it for one, we gotta do it for all.
Yeah. But then Marion hasn't turned in nothing, probably
Right.
City of Marion.
Hillsborough.
Hillsborough hasn't. And I don't know about Peabody.
So that ends
I
up
don't
being a
know.
little bit, quite a bit more cost to the county if we do it for one, do it for all.
Yeah. So. and-
It's just it's such a small amount.
Yeah.
And it's not consistent. To me, it's easily budgeted
Sure.
into the fire district budget, and it's not an impact
If it was.
for most of them.
2,500, 3,000 a year.
Yeah,
maybe.
that'd be different,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
and how long do you go on with the hard feelings about, well, we had no say?
Right, right.
I mean, how long do we let that carry
Yeah.
on? I mean, this is what we have.
They need to move on and go to correct.
I mean, I know it's not my decision.
No.
I just need to know whether to pay
Yes.
these bills as they keep coming in or not,
So I guess what I'm hearing from the commission is pay it this year, and then next year it's on the fire department.
I would put out a message to each one that you pay, say, we would like for you to budget that in your budget for next year.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Mueller, that we compensate this year's claims and not next year. Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
Opposed.
Oh, wow, sorry, 4-1.
I think it's great that they have the tool.
Yes.
I just think let them be in charge of it themselves in the future.
But you're right, Jonah. There's a couple commissioners, a couple firemen chiefs up there that we're still hearing about radios, so Dave's there.
I've heard about it and before I was ever here.
Yeah.
I heard about it day in and day out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hear about it more.
Okay, that's all the admin.
That's
Sorry,
it.
I know, unless you want more.
Well, that's good. Accomplished a lot, Tina, thank you. All right, are we ready to move into work session? I know on the agenda I had the executive session first. I see Bryce has been patiently waiting in the hallway for quite a while already. Let's move road and bridge discussion, and then maybe we can do the executive later. Bryce, if you want to come in. Ray, do you want to?
Yeah, Bryce, wake up out there. Come on in and see us. I noticed your head slumped just a little bit there.
No, I was talking.
Oh, okay.
All right. I guess in the work meeting, what do you want to talk about first or last or?
Well, the plan today was to work on our road and bridge policies, private road work, culverts, cattle guards,
Okay.
walk to businesses, commercial, industrial, residential, right-of-way infringement. And Brad will be here about 11, but hopefully we can get a little.
That's technical on that guy down there.
Yeah, just enough's enough. Time out.
That's not enough.
That's not enough.
I think it's funny.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep going, Dave.
And I didn't know if we could do a little groundwork before Brad got here.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I didn't. I guess I had planned on that. I scheduled interviews for 11:30 as well. So anyway, but anyway, we can get over some stuff. So.
Well, we'll get your input now, and then we'll
Okay.
get
Gotcha.
Brad's input.
Are you guys still meeting this afternoon then, or?
We don't really have any business for this afternoon.
Okay. He's the one calling technical, and then he's never mind. Okay. Well, where do you want to start?
Start on the private road work.
Okay. Well, that's still an issue that's out there. Pretty much comes down to the fact is whether you guys want to set up with a policy. The biggest thing, as I said before, is facing is how are we going to enforce it? No matter what we say or do, if it's going to be a legal thing, do we have the counselor send out letters? Do we have the sheriff that's enforcing that? Whatever else, because you're still going to get people that, unless it's a very substantial, whatever you say, penalty, they're still going to do it. So I don't know, Brad's been talking to me, several times about it, and I don't really know what the answer is as far as that goes.
Here's the way I see it. We can make all the policies we want to make. And if we have some kind of policy that says, we're gonna allow you to do such and such, then the liability flows here.
Yeah.
These guys have been going out and doing it on their own forever. If they run into somebody, that's their issue. It's not ours at that point. It could be, I guess, depending on litigants.
Well, I think ultimately it comes down to who has the best attorney and.
Well, but I mean, we already have a policy that doesn't allow people to work on the roads.
Do we though?
Don't we? From way back yonder, Randy?
last year, I thought we went over this.
We went over it, but we never
No
did come up with
decisions were ever
something.
made.
Yeah.
I thought it was more of a change.
Well, and again, that's just been my thing is that, I guess the
I think
what we come up with is you either needed to have all or nothing. Because like you said, you have one person going out to do a little bit, blading the roads or working on the roads, one thing, well, what if they start rebuilding ditches and then you get into the utilities and.
I
Well, we have the one instance from last year. How many dollars worth of repairs or damage did we have to fix last year from people going out and doing something? Other than that, well, we know that one road over
Yeah.
here.
Well, I mean, it's,
One over by the sub
I mean,
shop.
did we
Got the
spend
hump in it.
50,000 fixing
No.
damage? From,
no. We didn't spend that much, but it's very, very tough to put a dollar figure to that if you're talking one small instance here, or if you're talking about something that happens over 10 miles.
Yeah. No, I'm
That's-
talking about, somebody did something, we had to go basically rebuild, repair 2 miles.
Right. No, we wouldn't spend that much, but I guess the thing is, it gets me more than anything else is not so much the cost, is the fact is that if they do a bad enough job in there, we have to basically drop everything to go out and get it fixed. If that starts happening all over the county, then I lose control of where we're going day to day or whatever else. And again, it's not as though that I don't, appreciate it. I mean, I think everybody means well, but again, when you start and then of course you get the issue we've had several times. We've still got the same issue now where somebody takes care of the road and their neighbors don't like it. Well, they don't talk to the person working on the road. They bring it to us, and again, without that policy, I don't know what it is, but I look at the fact is of just the liability of not only damage the road, utilities, ditches, whatever else is, but what if there is an accident out there that, that he was out there working on your road, therefore you knew he was out there, and, and you don't have a policy that says they can't, so, I don't know, I mean, I think that comes down to the legal aspect of it. We're at the insurance companies are looking for people with the money. I don't know if you're gonna get much out of individual people, but the county always has money,
I don't know if that's something you're ever gonna get away from. If we own the road, we're probably always gonna be named in it.
Well,
Some kind of action.
But if we're named in it and we have a policy against that, then we get a summary judgment, and they were out there on their own, and, and that was posted in the, whatever you wanna say, the statutes or whatever else. I don't know, I mean,
I don't believe we've ever given anybody permission to go work on the road. I mean, when we've had rock dumped on the road and then handed the bills, and we said, we've even paid for some of that, I think, at one time. But for somebody just to actually, for us to give permission to go out and work on the road, that's always been a no. You don't have that permission. Whether they've done it, we all know that a lot of people do it. And so, but it's not a policy for us to give permission to do that, I don't think. Unless, but yet we can enforce them not to do it.
well, I mean, but that comes in effect is how do you enforce it?
Well, that's the situation I'm into right here, and it's due to neighborly dispute.
Yep.
I mean, can you give like a traffic ticket, $50 ticket, and first time, next
You
time?
think they're gonna pay it?
$100, well,
I mean, it's just like the railroad. The railroad says, hey, give us a ticket, we'll pay it. Yep. And it's frustrating that I have people out there say, well, I can maintain it better than you, and that's what I face too. But again, I think it comes down that if you want to make a policy is how you enforce it or whatever else, because like I said, some of these people, they're gonna say, even if it's $1,000 fine, first of all, can you make it enforceable, say, okay, we're gonna take you to court for $1,000? You know, if it's just a ticket, are you not gonna pay it? I mean, like I said, it just opens up a lot of things, but.
I think just anything that you can do to avoid as much liability as possible. If that's a one paragraph policy that just says we do not give permission for any private individual to do work on county roads.
Yeah.
Okay, this individual here that I passed out, and this, after this snowstorm and that tractor went through there, there's tons of dirt, rock, everything in the ditch. So, but that person maintains that ditch for quite a ways, so, because it's their property,
Yep.
they like to see it mowed
Sure.
and stuff
And
like
I
that.
appreciate that too, it looks
Well,
nice.
we all do.
Yeah.
Okay, so after somebody even does it, what you're saying, and most likely open it up for this, do the snow, how do we have that person take care of this mess in front of that person's, the one that don't like them's house? I mean, or do we go do it, and do we put a charge on that and say, from now on, you open your road up and leave the rest of it alone?
I have the same issue because we have people that say, hey, don't maintain this road, but then the neighbors start complaining about it. And, you know, so, you know, and we don't want to cause any more troubles than, you know, if the people, if they can, I mean, to say in the fastest, you know, we give it implicit, I guess, permission, say if you can keep it in good shape, we don't hear any comments about it, that's the main thing, but, you know.
It's an issue in every rural county.
Oh, sure, sure.
I followed an oil field bulldozer down a road in Graham County, Kansas, opening up that road for the oil truck.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing a great job.
Yeah, and he didn't care. All he was doing was getting that truck in and out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know what if Brad has come up with anything, but, you know, what we face is, as a county, to say we have deep pockets, we don't, but, obviously our insurance people have said we don't like this either. I don't know.
Does any of our areas have a policy like this one may not have been touched because the grader operator is probably clear over by Peabody? Grader's not down in that area, so.
I mean, and again, I don't know specifically, but I mean, we can look, but again, he's told to stay off the road, and every time he's out there, he gets, you know.
What I'm saying though
It's a
is,
dead
does
end
our
road, too.
graders have a policy that they try hitting some of these places, number first? Or is it population, the most popular road?
Bus
Or
road.
how do they go about when it's snow? How do they go about, where would this person be that's gonna complain when we go talk to them? Where would that person be on the list to get opened up to get out? That's my question.
Well, I don't know if that's specifically noted. Most of the guys know that if there's a lot more people on the road, they need to open it up. But you can also say that, I can tell you that, you know, we try to work on the paved roads first, obviously. You know, and those are bad enough. A lot of times if we're using our trucks and plows and there's drifting, we actually have to take the motor graders over there and plow it back. You know, that snowstorm we had a month ago. That's what we did. So while they're doing that, they're not working on those roads. Yeah, I don't know if they could specifically say that. They know what roads are the most well-traveled, the widest, stuff like that. And I suppose I've also heard, and the fact is there's people that said that they need to get out. They'll actually call the motor grader and say, hey, you know, can you come open me out now? Or, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. But, you know, as much area as they have to cover, and I can tell you that snowstorm, the difference between section 12 and section 1 was huge. And I mean, that's the other thing we face is even that 10 to 15 to 20 miles that they have in there affects that too. So if they have a dedicated, okay, I'm gonna go this route, this route, this route, this route, they may get to these two and don't need it, and so they've wasted their time getting there. So I mean, I wish there was a, you know, perfect scenario or perfect storm, whatever you wanna say, to take care of it, but
Used to be, they always open up the bus routes first, didn't they?
well, right, and.
But nowadays, the schools always just cancel.
Well, and that's how we like the benefit of that too, is because then it's
Less pressure.
less liability for those school buses if they're not out there.
There's stuff on the road trying to get around.
Yeah. And you know, I can tell you that snowstorm we had a month ago, I mean, driving across 60th and 40th down to the Peabody, man, it was just a whiteout. You know, it was a good thing we didn't have any kind of traffic. It made things better for us too, to try to get cleared back, but. You know, I don't know what the answer is, but I mean, we sit here and do nothing, you're gonna continue to have the issues that we're having now. If you do create something or whatever else, then you're gonna deal with those issues down the road, and I don't know what the answer is, but there's gonna be issues all the time.
Right now, this person is working through me, but very well let me know where she would be if I didn't get a good answer to her.
Well, and again, I told her the same thing. I said, when we open roads, we are really not as concerned about what we're doing to the road. We just try to get them in and out. And we will come back after the fact, because probably now to where it's probably thawed enough to where we could go down there and do something. But when that's first wet, thrown over there, it's froze. It's no good time to do that.
Right, it'll be 11.
So, but I don't know.
Did it do any good to talk to the person who did the damage and ask them to do a better job next time?
No, because then you're telling them to go ahead
I
and do
know,
it.
I mean, it's kind of a, because, you
And
know,
I-
you did it 2 weeks in a row.
Sure, and you guys know who these people are. I mean, they're like I said, if you put a fine of $50 out there, they're gonna laugh. You know,
Here's the cash.
Yeah, or just not. Yeah, take me. You know, so whatever. I don't know, and I don't know if and when counties all over here deal with that too.
Just from the other discussion with Brad, it sounded like most counties just stay away from it. There's a few policies.
Well,
out
and
there, so-
for for those reasons.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
that's why we're having this
You know,
discussion to
If the economy of your county centers around those kind of things, you don't want to stir up the
Right.
beehive too much.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and I told her, I said, if we needed to go down later on and fix it, we're gonna get a better satisfaction by doing that than we are trying to get, you know, him to do that.
I mean, it's no different than anywhere else. We go clean up a property, we can assess it to taxes. I would think if we're fixing damage on a road caused by an individual, we can assess it to their taxes. There, you know, that's another.
Yeah.
But this is kind of more cosmetic than it is damage.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like anybody else, if that was your property,
They want my ditch not, yes.
yeah, you know.
I
so-
understand.
Damage is damage. There's a cost associated with the repair.
Yeah. And honestly,
They
in
took
order
too
to go in
much
there and
off.
fix that, the best thing to do is go in there and try to just scrape the stuff up on top, because they've got a great stand of grass right there. You know, so that's the other thing you look at, but,
What am I gonna do with it once I scrape it, huh?
well, we can get rid of the material, that's not a problem, but, you know,
But you're gonna scrape it up on, if there's any good rock left, or if you
Yeah.
put some on, then you gotta do it before you put the good
Yeah.
rock back on.
yeah.
I've got an
Unless-
answer.
Unless Brad has any other information, but, you know, like I said, it sounds like it, do you not touch it, do you, I mean, I think either way you go.
We need to move on to the next subject.
All right.
I'm gonna move the boundary line down there a mile or two, just for you to have that one.
Okay.
Tell me this, did the individual to do that damage, did he have, I mean, was it that important that he got that done?
Probably if he has cattle in and out.
That was my question.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When she first called me, she said they had a huge drift there, and this individual come down and got her at least an 8-foot wide opening to go through the drift.
Yes.
And then, I think it was more when they got that done, and they went back and did more of the opening is when they
So
actually.
the road will dry out quicker.
Well, yeah.
So you're saying this person come over to help this other person, and now the other person is complaining about? Are you kidding me?
That's all, I cannot make
No.
assumptions, I'm just told
Yeah.
that, you know, so. And honestly, you know, there's a couple other individuals that say the same thing as I go in to help my neighbors out.
And then have them turn around and get mad at you.
Welcome to the world.
Well, since we've made so much progress on that topic, why don't we try another one, and maybe we'll have just as much success. Rock to businesses, commercial, industrial, residential.
So what's the policy for residential?
In the past, and I don't know whether this is written down or not, was that if they build a new house, typically Sharon and I discuss that, and she will tell them that if you want this road rebuilt, you need to talk to Road and Bridge. We have went in there and requested that they pay for the first coat of rock and everything else to get it, and we'll go in and rebuild it, because obviously that's not as much of an issue as the cost of the rock. But then we go in and do that, and they pay for the initial rock to go on there, and then we maintain it afterwards. Now, whether that's written down or not, that's what I've always been told is.
Yeah, in the minutes for the past.
Yeah, so, but that's for residential. Again, the commercial, agriculture, or whatever else, I don't know if there's ever been.
It's just luck of the draw.
Well, I mean, I look at, you know, I had one guy that was asking about a bunch of sand, and I said, you know, here's the deal, we're not gonna get to it for quite a while, but, you know, I said, for what you're investing in your operation, I think a little bit of sand on your part is a pretty cheap investment. And he agreed with me. You know, but it's just like anybody else. Hey, if I can get it for nothing, then I say nothing, you know, but again, that's an issue, and we have another egg farm going in now. Granted, it's on a rock road, but it's gonna get considerably more traffic on it, so.
That's just, well, you're having some of these pop up. What is our standard? We need to start coming up with a standard. This is what we do.
And maybe if you all discuss this different scenarios, like this might just be a suggestion to help you get organized. Where you've talked about residential, so I wrote down what he says the policy is on that.
Right.
And sand, he mentioned sand, like on residential. They would pay for sand if they request it for dust control or whatever. I mean, is that the policy?
Well, I don't know if that's written down either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's written down, but that's what this is
We're
for.
trying to create a policy.
Right.
So,
Lock it in.
Yes.
Yes. Because some of the issues, the sand is really not a huge deal, other than the fact that we're getting more and more and more people that want the sand. And it's every 6 months a year that they're calling in and wanting the sand. I know in the past that they've done it for nothing. I've also known that they've paid for the sand. So
That's
yeah.
not consistent.
yeah.
right, so
It just
what
needs
does
to
the
be a
commission
question.
want to do?
Yeah.
If there's a residence that's requesting sand, what do you want it to be?
Well, it also come to a point of economic. I mean, the southwest corner of Marion County wants all the sand they can get. And it was closer for us to go down there and cheaper for us to go down there and bring sand back for them than it was for anybody else. I mean, but that's just, should we not look at it that way too? I mean,
Well, what if it's, I'm sorry.
No.
That's all right.
Listen.
No.
I don't mean it.
Well,
If you guys ever just want the clerk to take notes, please say so, because I don't want to interject too much, but
See,
I'm
we
just trying to
appreciate
have some direction. So
Yes.
in some instances, it might make sense that the sand is the more appropriate material to be on the road in general in
Yes.
an area. But if a resident just requests sand for
Right.
dust control, for
Right.
instance,
Right.
is that a scenario where it's not just the regular material that's on the road, where you would say in your policy that they may request it and pay for it, if it's just for dust control or something like that? Or do you want to skip over sand and go to another type of road?
Well, no, I think it needs to be identified as an area to make a decision.
Okay,
And I think we're still not quite together on the
Yeah,
same
'cause
page.
there's more and more
on this
people that
page.
want it in front of their house,
Oh,
and I don't
it needs
blame
to be
them.
identified, yeah.
Well, I don't
Right.
blame them, but yet it's just one more thing for us to, we're typically worried about the structural capacity of the roads and things like that. This is plain dust control.
This is, yeah, this is
Now,
top for us.
and I can tell you, I had one guy in the southwest part of the county that was talking about that. I said, well, yeah, he goes, well, I'm 25 miles to the quarry, I'm 25 miles to the sand plant. And I said, yeah, but I said, that's you.
Mhm.
What if I have to take it clear across the county to somebody else? He goes, well, I don't care about them.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, that's,
We've heard that same answer at the
Yeah.
Morning Coffee Club, yes.
What's the policy?
yeah.
What's the policy? I don't really care.
Well,
Yeah,
and
that's
then-
that side of the county and this side of the county. If they
Yeah.
ask for something,
Well,
are we going to charge for that?
If it's not your typical road material that you
Mhm.
would generally use on the road, and it's not structurally needed or.
yeah. And I mean, when we do rebuild roads, we typically put sand on top for dust control as well as it's a better material to blade. It just.
It works out good, like, especially like Falcon. It's
Mhm.
lost a lot of sand.
Yeah.
But everything else is still there. You put some sand back on the top and you're
Yep.
good to go again.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that, just throwing this out there, that if you do say that, that we are going to charge for sand for dust control, do they have to pay for it ahead of time? Or do we put it down and trust them to send them an invoice down the road? Just throwing that out there. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's the principle. The fact is that now you may have to,
Or do we let them haul it themselves?
which they can do too. They're gonna face, well, and honestly, it's going to cost more for them to do that because they're gonna pay for the trucking, at that expense. Not saying it's a lot, but I mean,
We have some though that do that every year for
Yep.
themselves.
Yep.
They pay for the trucking and sand and everything.
yeah.
The other option in your policy is that the county provides sand, if appropriate. I mean,
Well, personally, it ain't there yet. I don't know how soon it'll ever be there, but going this harder rock route, from what I've seen personally, and the sand mix, seems like it's going to be a common material.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the direction I think we should keep going.
Yeah, I can tell you that they're hauling out of the Lincolnville site today to up to Area 3 up there, hauling out that rock, so. But and again, I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want.
And that, you're top dressing a good road?
Yeah, they're spotting in some places where it really needs it, so. But-
Okay.
So it's
Just
sand
said it though.
becomes-
The idea of the rock, the hard rock, was to start and stop in a distance, not in a spot.
Well,
So are we, what I'm getting at is that's what that rock was bought for, is to do a road that's, and yet you just told me you're spotting it, so.
well, we don't have any roads ready for it, but yet, comments were made several times, hey, we need to get that rock on the road,
Right.
so I mean,
So it's gonna go on a road that's not gonna get fixed or repaired.
well, and again, I mean, the biggest thing we're looking at now is we need some moisture to try to work on these roads. And, that, I will tell you that gray rock does set up better. In fact, we even had issues getting it out of the truck, last week because it was freezing. But, again, it's other, I can tell you that there's several thousand tons available for us down here at Florence, that's been backhauling all winter and stuff like that. So we still have plans to do that, but I mean, with, like Jonah said, when you put that gray rock and put sand on there, I think it's working fantastic, so.
At Florence, is that already bought from us?
What's that? It was brought in for us.
Brought in, not
Okay, we
paid.
haven't paid yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they just bring it in and then we pick it up and we get the bill for it, so.
Okay, so we talked about rock policy to residences, now let's talk about rock policy to commercial or oil or feedlots. That's what's near and dear to Jonah's heart.
Wouldn't you treat it the same with residential? If they put the first coat down, we'd take care of them that on?
Well, that last chicken
Different opinions.
farm, we went and put base rock down, right? Didn't we agree to do the base rock on the chicken farm? And then they had to do the top
Yes.
rock?
Yes.
So, Is that,
Which they're gonna take more rock over the years than the regular
Yeah.
road would, but
Yeah, they've got that road pretty nice.
because if we go
And-
opening up and doing all base rock, now we gotta fix some roads that are just dirt,
Yeah, you gotta rebuild the road.
right?
Well, and that's
Whereas
what-
if we paid for, I don't know, just trying to think it through.
which is like the big city, when you put in a new industry, they gotta pay for the cement street going to that building. Then the city maintains it for the life after, it's just special. you know.
That, well, that, yeah, typically comes into special taxation or
Yeah.
whatever else, which with these agricultural lands or dealings, whatever else, I don't know what the tax significance is for those compared to residential. Obviously, they're putting in a house, but I mean, I don't know what the tax base is.
Put it out in the country, because it's gonna be cheaper in the long run for them, set it in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something, if they chose that location, we didn't make them go there, so we shouldn't have to pay for that. We'll maintain it later.
Well, the nature of these businesses though, it's not anything you could have in a city, a feedlot or,
Well, I
you know,
understand.
an oil field.
No, residential is what I think what he was.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm talking business.
Oh,
The
okay.
commercial stuff.
Yeah, I mean, industrial parks,
Yeah, they have to be out nowhere.
Some of them are, like you said, near and dear to me. There isn't a choice. It's wherever it's at, wherever it's found. You can't just, I'm just gonna move this over here.
Move to the other side of the road.
A lot of businesses with, you know, with planning and zoning, they have to have a road agreement to have the business there, like that quarry, you know, they have their own road agreement. You know, I don't know if you had some just basic agreements like that with some of these, like to where the county could build the road, but they would have, you know, you take turns providing rock or, you know, and then what abilities do they have to maintain that road if they're no one's using it? Because this, I think what you're talking about are the roads that they're basically the ones using because they're just using it to get to their.
To their business.
Right.
I know that Sharon and I had talked about that, and she said there is no formal policy or whatever else about that.
Be
So,
tied into frequency of use, or if it could be
Well-
tied into, so I mean, if you got somebody's, because you're gonna have to divide it out, because there's gonna be somebody saying, well, that's my business out there, and that's my pasture, and it's cows, and be like, well, you're going out there every day, you're going out there once a week, or you're going out there, I mean,
I think,
and while they're at pasture, they're probably going out there every day.
I don't think we should deviate on a commercial business from where we've been on a rural residential. We put in the base rock. If they're gonna run 30 semis a day, they're gonna have to put some more rock on
but just after the first application or continuously?
it. No, we put in the base rock, rebuild the road.
Right. But I'm
And then
saying
they pay
the
for the
top
rock after that.
Okay.
I
So it's
mean,
basically reversing what
well,
you're
it's
doing on
kind of,
residential.
it's kind of reverse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that we're not getting a call once a week. We gotta get more rock out here, because we got 50 semis coming now. We don't wanna get into that.
And then do you allow them to maintain that? Or not?
For putting our own rock on it, well, and I would say that might even be a necessity, because, you know, when we're dropping rock, if we have a problem, we call one of our blade men to go over there and say, for instance, they drop a big pile, well,
Go
now
out
the people drop
and spread
themselves.
it.
Yeah, but if they drop a big pile, or a truck breaks down or whatever else, now you got a big pile of rock on the road too.
Right.
Chances are it's their business that we're doing this to. I mean, they're, in Jonah's case, in a lot of those, there's roads out there around the old oil fields, it's never traveled unless it's nice and dry dirt, and that's when you travel them. But yet, Jonah and people that own them, the wet drillers and things like that, have to drive it probably once a day.
Bumpers run it once a day.
Bumpers deal, yeah.
But, you know, the other thing that comes into there now is if you go out there and you do rock that road, more people may use it that don't.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
so then
I
you have
mean,
that-
but we're talking about trying to get,
I understand,
work with the
yeah.
customer
Sure,
that's,
sure.
that's the oil driller, or we're trying to talk
Just get
with
the
a chicken
access
farm.
to it,
or-
because they'll wind up at the well, and then they'll just turn around and go back, or they'll go down the road, keep going down the road and get stuck, which is still the current situation it is now.
Also rip stuff off the wall and take it,
Yeah.
motors and control boxes.
If they're that silly, they.
I wonder if you could just, if you put in your policy, the county builds the base and then the business enters a I mean, you could do a real simple memorandum of agreement or some little, doesn't have to be a big old thing, but just a little one-page agreement, and then the business keeps that road up after it's built.
Then
And-
maybe the county would do normal maintenance.
I would say that maybe the county wouldn't do maintenance. If it's if it was a dirt road and they only need it to get to their
Most of the-
feedlot or to their pasture or whatever, if they then would agree to keep up that little section and put the rock on it.
But then we're back having people work on roads too.
Right, that's why I'm saying, if it's some, you would have to have a memorandum of agreement with that individual property owner or something to allow it.
Well, I really feel it's the county's share to, with somebody business like that, for us to get the road built. I think that's accomplished already. I don't think any commissioner has any problem with that, getting whatever it is, getting the road built to dirt. Now when it comes base rock and polish for that, and then the top rock, how long? If they just shut the business down, we're not gonna maintain that road forever. And so,
There needs to be thresholds too, so
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about, say, an oil lease, it's gotta produce over a certain barrel per day before you can handle what taxes you're gonna get from having that lease versus how much you spend on that road. So if you get a half a barrel a day well, you're not really collecting a lot of tax.
that's why.
But
dirt roads are out.
if you hit 5 barrel a day, you fall into that upper threshold.
And then in order to service that 5 barrel a day, you would have to spend a quarter of a barrel a month to put rock on that road to service it.
But you're also getting hit with a higher tax bill because you broke that 5 barrel.
Yeah.
How many oil leases are there? That's
Quite
another
a
thing.
few.
I mean, if you open this can of worms,
Tons.
do we have enough help to gravel that many roads?
Most of them, they're not full miles. Most of them are an extension of, well, some are.
Yeah.
I should say some, out over in the west area over there, there's some full miles to get to them. But most of them that are gonna produce high enough to hit a threshold are
Here we got 10, I've got 50.
quarter of a mile at a piece.
Well, I'd say
Half
oil well leases, you're over 50, aren't you?
So we have a couple hundred miles of road we got to create.
Well, some of them could be within a quarter, may have 3 or 4 within
Well,
a
yeah,
quarter
but
mile of each other.
4 of them makes a mile
No.
No.
They're all in one lease.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm just saying individual
You
locations.
build a quarter mile road and you might service 4 leases.
Right.
I mean, in the oil fields like
Yeah.
Watchorn Corner, Peabody, there's a bunch around there.
though. And that's something we have to worry about what we're creating here. And they've been fine for 50 years.
They haven't been fine.
Them and fine.
But they're getting by.
Well.
No, when oil was negative $37 a barrel, they were not fine.
Yeah, the other thing is that has come into play was a lot of the roads have been messed up since the floods of 2019 and have never been, fully brought back up to where they were. But it's always the same thing too, is that to say they fall in that lower priority
Yeah.
but then again, if they can't get in and out, then it becomes a huge.
And then you get your markets too, like right now, oil prices sky high, it rains tomorrow. You can't get it in there, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Ukraine and Russia make a deal and everything goes back to normal, and all of a sudden you lost $20, $30 a barrel because you couldn't get it out today.
Get your D9 out, go for it.
Not everybody owns a D9.
And,
I'll bet
and,
there's a bunch
well,
of-
but the other thing is that you get in and out, but then what happens to the road afterwards?
Most of the tank batteries on on roads that you can get to, I mean, the wells are back, yeah, we know, but most of the tank batteries, they put them out there where you can get to them.
Yeah, some roads that aren't there, yeah, you can get to them when they're dry.
Yeah, but then you're also, if that's the case, you're coming in with semis and tankers,
Yeah.
which is more of an issue than just the small drill rigs too, or the pumpers. So,
I don't know.
It's kinda like the Dan Road thing. There's
I
no
think it would be a
big
lot bigger issue if we had a lot of 20 to 100 barrel wells in this county, which we don't. They do have, there are gonna have those issues in some parts of the state.
Yeah.
Where they have high producing wells and they're
That's what I said.
they're all kicked into high gear, let's face it.
That's what I said, there needs to be a threshold, because the higher tax payout is gonna be 5 barrel.
so then if you throw the threshold in there, now do you well, I guess that there are, I assume state, whatever else.
Yeah.
But to determine what's what and whose is what.
And how are you gonna get it? That's
A lot of K-State stays on top of it too. 'Cause
I'm
they
sure
gotta
it's
keep
out
track
there
of
somewhere.
the holes.
Well, I would agree that Dave Mueller said it right a while ago at 10:30, that we have got as much accomplished on this one as we did on the last one.
Well, what about the
Well,
chicken farm?
What?
Chicken farms.
I mean, I got a pretty good understanding of, the oil side of things. The chicken farm, I don't know,
I don't know
if
how
you stay
many-
under 1,000 chickens, are you staying underneath some sort of threshold?
Yeah, I
There
don't
isn't
know
gonna be
about
any
that.
less than 1,000 chickens if they put in a chicken range, I guarantee you that, maybe
Yeah,
under
it's-
5,000.
Yeah.
Well, I
And I don't know how big and how often the trucks go in and out of there either. So,
All right, well, thank you. I don't know if we made much progress.
well, let's make some progress. If we're allowed to, I guess I have area fuel bids. So,
Do
We can do that during the administrative at the
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
and if that's,
One copy for each of us?
yes. And that's why I just wanted to make sure I left with them before. So, but anyway.
Do you have any other business?
Well, there's some stuff I can go over, but it's not pressing stuff, so.
Well, there is some stuff that you need to get Brad here for.
Yeah. Which I could, if the interviews get done, I could come back in and
No difference.
yeah, well, and obviously, we just got to talking about the speculation on the price of oil right now is driving me, I mean, usually there's 1,500 difference between the two bids.
It's like 348 roughly to 316
Mhm.
Or we're gonna be on fuel budget.
over.
If you can tell me the next now and the 10 months from now,
It'll be it's gonna be $4 a gallon. I mean, there's just no way,
I mean,
no
it's
rhyme or
not-
reason why you can't. I mean,
yeah, it's jumping 20 cents a night, per gallon, so.
businesses' quarterlies are about to come out, and so they're gonna start to show where they need to be.
We don't have any way of storing any more than what we got.
Well, we do, and the fact is that we could, I'm still working on the issue of trying to get, bigger tanks in certain areas, but you're only still talking 1,000 gallons instead of 500 gallons. It's not like
Right,
it's good.
right.
All right, so I'm gonna go with EPS.
No,
we
no,
can't
no,
sit
no,
down
no,
and
no.
get
That's why I
out.
do that.
Right.
But there's some other things I talked about, but like I said, they're really, I think I sent out the letter that we didn't get the
Yes.
local bridge improvement program.
Yes.
Still haven't heard anything on the HRRR project on 290th as well. That was due, December 4th or whatever. I would have thought we'd heard something. I understand it's on the governor's desk and that they're waiting for the formal announcements.
Which bridge was it that you?
The local bridge improvement program, which was on Holly south of 90th.
Okay,
So,
thanks. That's what I needed.
gotcha, yep.
Thanks.
So we're gonna be doing our geotechnical investigation tomorrow on Indigo as well as 190th. So that. And then we're going, Steve and Jesse Smith and I are going to a culvert class in Salina on Wednesday.
I was coming on, working up drawings for Indigo and drawings for Kansas.
That, I was making sure that this stuff here will work.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll still be able to get that.
Why are you taking one employee versus some other employee?
Working them into the Road Scholar project, so.
I can't say too much personnel, but I'm just asking questions.
All right, anything else?
No, I think that's it for now, so I will check in with you during the
Okay.
interviews with the rails.
Okay.
That's good, thank you, Bryce. All right, well, Brad said he would be here around 11, I believe. How about we do a 15-minute executive session on property acquisition? Let's see if I can do this if I might. I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss preliminary discussion of acquisition of real estate pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. For item 6, preliminary discussion acquisition of real estate with the commission. Tina for, let's go 10 minutes. 10:55 to 11:05.
Second.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Becker. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
I think that's a great idea if we do something like that, little hives come down
It's
a little
on.
bit though.
168, I think.
It's on, camera's on.
We have another
Patty
curveball.
keeps calling me. We're-
That open the door?
Yes,
I'd like. Our council
This
just walked in.
conference will now be recorded.
We're out of executive session, no decisions made. I'd like to go back into executive session for another 10 minutes. I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss preliminary acquisition of real estate pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. For item 6, preliminary discussion of acquisition of real estate with the commission, Brad and Tina, from 11:06 to 11:16.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. We'll be back in 10.
This conference will now be recorded.
We're out of executive.
Oh, yeah, well, it's just
Do we have
public
control or
last Thursday, Friday.
no? Okay, Commissioner, are ready? Out of executive session, the commission is authorizing our attorney to negotiate for acquisition of property.
so you make a motion and vote on that to do that.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
I would second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. At this point, I think we'll move back into the discussion of road policies.
Baseline policies.
Do we have any direction for our attorney?
Has he done anything for us on that?
I have multiple, we've talked about.
Didn't mean it that way.
No,
You wanna
but
reword that?
it's a fair question. We've talked about culverts before, and then we've also talked about maintenance of certain areas of public roadway by private individuals. We've also discussed where the private property driveways and that sort of thing meet the public roadways. Okay, those three areas. particular, and then one that we already had been through, predating several of you, that probably needs to be adjusted according to what we do with those. It was a general, it was kind of a general overview type of a policy put in place. We had people parking bales in our easement and our right-of-way. In some areas on these dirt roads, we had them blocking ditches. We had significant overuse and encroachment. And so I produced one that was passed a long time ago, a couple years ago, that dealt with parts of that. I would advocate putting it all back into at most 2 or even just one policy that deals with all issues related to private use and maintenance of public thoroughfare. The only reason I would say 2 is if we wanted to do something different for installation of culverts. I mean, that is kind of a unique bright line. Those, I will say, the approach to that, cities and counties, varies somewhat depending upon each one, but the general, by and large, one I see most of the time with a variation on a theme of that is that when they initially want it put in, approval of that is by the county, obviously, and then the county provides the particular material, whatever we want to use that we think is appropriate in that location, and the cost of installation initially is paid for by the requesting property owner, or vice versa. I've seen it that way too. In either case, no control is ever ceded to the property owner. What we put in there in terms of a whistle tube or something else is a determination made by staff or the engineer, or ultimately through the board, how long, wide it is and what it will carry, made by the board or the staff on the board's direction. And then any kind of installation, even though they pay for it, is still the county's specifications.
From that point, Brad, would you have another section that says, we sort of had some discussion this morning, like if it was a business out here somewhere that we did all of this and got to this point, that would you have some sort of the next step to long-term maintenance for that road?
You can. That's the second piece of why I suggest in some ways, well, actually that works in both instances. The maintenance element of it is somewhat variable. That's part where I get a lot of differences on these. Many of the cities, for example, if they put in culverts or anything where they've got a smooth paved road over it that they have to tear up each and every time, they take it, kind of like we do roads once they're publicly dedicated. After initial installation, it becomes the governmental entity's responsibility going forward. That's one approach. But I have a number of them that do use what Commissioner Dahlke just mentioned, which is some type of an ongoing relationship, particularly in business settings where there's a lot of heavy use and it isn't just a local resident, who's going to go over it and it'll last for 50 years and we're not going to worry too much about it. But if you get a company that's successful and the use gets to be ever increasingly intensity driven, it behooves us to look at the possibility, you're using it a heck of a lot more than anything else we ever do. Therefore, there's a fee attached to that, and it is attaching it to our public roadway. So with that in mind, I pulled up about a half dozen of these that I've done in different varieties, and I was hesitant to pass out that much paper and go, well, okay, yeah, or whatever. And so I guess a little bit of guidance as to how you'd like that done is all that would be needed. And then if you want to separate culverts entirely, or any kind of an agreement that includes ongoing maintenance from those that we're going to take it after that point, if you want to do that, it just involves some discussion. And we decided what's best for the taxpayer's perspective and feels the most equitable.
Sort of gets us to where we was at, and except for the long ongoing, at least you have 3, and each one could be handled individually, or do you write the general policy that says this is it, solid?
I generally advocate for that second alternative. You have a policy in place. If you want to deviate from that and you have good cause to do it, that's one thing, but you have a starting point every time. If we do it each time, this body changes, the circumstances change, different owners come in with different pressures and different priorities and different levels of financial acumen, and we have this constant changeover. If we have something that you can start from that gives you some consistency, I'd advocate for that.
That's exactly what's happening with what they say. It's not, Bryce comes in, a new road boss comes in. We've had numbers of new road bosses. They don't see any of the paperwork that ever come down, because it's all file 13 when they come in. So, and you don't see, it's like the new houses out, mile out, we had that handed down to it, and we passed something somewhere, but they don't know it. And so that's the words he said this morning. And it is, new people here, new people there.
In my lifetime, I went and looked at the farm and some of the things around there where I've assisted at someone else as a landowner. We've done installation of culverts and changes on a lot of that stuff 4 different ways on 4 different occasions. So that's why, you know, from my perspective, and it worked out. I mean, it wasn't as though we didn't get it done, but each and every time it was a separate negotiation. I don't know if some got treated better than others or not, to be candid, without looking at all the numbers. But if you look at it countywide and want to ensure that we treat everyone basically the same, or at least if we treat them differently, we have a reason to do so. But we have a place to start from. That's, I guess, my logic of thinking that would be better for you, is put something in place and then work from it. So to answer Mr. Crowfoot's question, no, I didn't bring all of those. I looked at them and spread them out on the table.
But you have started something.
Yeah, I went ahead and took those a while back, each time it's come up, and pulled something. And we do have one that we passed a while back that's related to this. And then culverts, I've got several examples of that. We stopped short because the question came with one that was being done. Well, wait a minute, if they want one longer, what do we do about that? And if they have an extraordinary, what's our limit? Because Bryce asked that a couple of months ago, and how far do we go with that? And materials, if they want something that will carry a combine versus just something that will get a vehicle into or access faster, what about that? And so I stopped, because it's been that way ever since. But I'd be happy to have that in front of you if we have
some direction.
Yeah, if you have some comfort as to what you like.
Should it be separated into the different categories between residential,
And I'm happy
commercial,
to do that
industrial?
also, if you like.
Try to base residential just on, in the past, what has been said, and what we can.
Right.
And then we got a sheet with some writing on it.
Right.
And start writing on that sheet.
Yes, we need written policy.
And then commercial is a little more difficult in my mind, because commercial is so many different industries. And industrial would be even more.
And some,
less than commercial.
yeah, some add, they don't put it under commercial or industrial, they'll add agricultural
Yeah.
as a 4th category. And there's justification for that.
Right.
When I read through them, why they do that. Because there are different intensity of use categories, so.
Well, they've got like I said, when you got the cows in pasture and on grass, you probably visit it every day.
Mhm.
So if you go by frequency of use, well, what is the frequency of use a whole year, or is it frequency of use?
And if you have an industrial and they're using a full 18-wheeler rolling in and out of there 12 times a day, that's going to be a far greater intensity of use. Just by every pass is going to be a significantly greater potential use. So, you know, we can break them into those various categories if you'd like.
I think you're gonna have to, otherwise you get, I don't know. It doesn't mean they can't all look alike, just everything's gonna have to be tweaked.
Well, I think it's what you're saying, it's more about the intensity of use.
And if some person wants to give you all the dirt you need to build that road along the side somewhere, that person maybe should be compensated a little more for that or something, you know. That's where I was asking the second part of this. Yeah, it's all policy, but if somebody does give us something, you know, so we don't have to.
Well, yeah, it's happening a lot, you know, that way, where they're pulling up the sides of the field so they can get field entrances by building the road,
Yeah.
so.
And by definition, you're going to get, in the agricultural, you're going to get those guys that farm at a different level than others that, want it 60 feet wide. Why? Well, because I've got the machinery that it needs to accommodate. The guy next over is like, shoot, I farm 12-foot stuff, yeah, but, so it isn't as big a deal. But so you're not going to be able to just throw everything into a single category and pot. But the ability, and I can easily put that in, each one is subject to review based upon unique circumstances. But again, the basis for everyone, you hand them the policy and say, this is what we do. If you have anything that deviates from that, you'll need to come to us with justification and some type of a plan. And yes, we always have the ability to deviate, but we have to have a purpose for doing so and a good justification, and we'll approve it. And I can kind of do the same thing. Culverts are this installation issue, but it really isn't necessarily that far off to do the same thing with elements of road maintenance. I think it's a separate policy, candidly, but some sorts of the same thing. We've got these guys that have feedlots, and they absolutely are in and out of there with heavy equipment on a daily basis, multiple times, in order to run their business. And then you do have the occasional guy who runs a industrial kind of a business out in the country, so he needs to do it too, but also has a greater traffic pattern and a different kind of traffic pattern than the one person that lives on a single mile who just has their house there. So I don't think we're not going to get one size fits all to the extent that you never have to review it. I think that's going to happen with frequency, but I think we can set a general standard and say from there we work up what the particulars are as requested. So then the next question would be, since we've kind of gotten to that point before, which is at the edge of the abyss and then we never jump over, do you want me to take this and do what I think you want, sort of, kind of, and then get to Commissioner Crockett's question? You have something for us? I can say, yes, I do, and you may not like it.
Right.
But up to now, it's always been, I'm not sure what you want.
Right.
But after looking at it again, those are my thoughts, is we still need one. We make it general in nature. I may break it into the 4 categories, because I've seen that some. And probably do at least 2. One for these installation kinds of issues, particularly culverts, for example. And then the other to catch all the other kinds of things that involve individual intervention on public rights of way.
And I don't know, the old policy is to put in a 24-foot culvert for everyone.
Yes.
At least one per section of ground, per field. So that was 24 foot. So we're not required to do that. So I don't know what the commission feels about that either, or do you set a charge for every culvert to go in, just a charge, whether it's 24 or 40? Or you set a charge for 24 and 40 then?
And that's a good point. And I would say you probably do, because the other issue that you run into when you start looking at all of the actions in the county and the other counties have taken, you have this one per section. Well, wait a minute. You got 4 guys owning a quarter each. They each want their own. Obviously, they've got to have some way to get into it. So now we got 4 on a section. Well, then somebody broke that off into an 80, and somebody took that 80 and they were able to get it separated into 4 20-acre lots. And so, again, I'm using real life examples from the Register of Deeds office. So, and that's where my problem came in, trying to produce something that would work in every instance. I think it's better, at least from what I can tell right now, that we do it on a per culvert request basis. And we, that it's nice to have that. This is what we'll do, but I'm not even sure it fits the scope of this anymore, because property in the county over time, well, sort of, it's gone back the other way some too, as farms have gotten bigger, but you still have a lot of owners in a single section in a lot of cases.
And if you put a price down, you would know right now, culverts go up, metal's going up, so culverts going to go up. Our cost is going to rise for that.
And that will be, as the market will bear at that particular point in time, it'll be a quote from the county.
I would sure like to see something simpler than the way our plan is. And I don't know that any, I don't know that any farmer that, big or small, has a complaint. If they just want that opening wider, they want it bigger, and if we say it's $500, well, it's $500 for the culvert.
Usually it is just whatever it costs. The county isn't trying to
No,
make.
We don't charge labor.
but you don't wanna lose money.
Well, yeah, but
And that's the question. You don't want to lose money, and we don't charge labor. I mean, in a lot of instances, that's been the case. That probably needs to be revisited, because you are paying these guys. You know, and what do we, now granted, the people that we're serving are the citizens who are the taxpayers, and they're also generating revenue off of that land. So you gotta balance that, and I get it. I'm just saying, while you think through this, it's probably a good idea to have that discussion and say, no, the reason we don't charge labor is because we consider this an element of serving the citizens of the county.
New house construction, I mean, the same fee would go there too. I don't know. I don't think they would have a real problem if you just set a fee.
tie your solid waste to the culvert. So however many culverts you have a solid waste assessment fee.
You could do that.
Well, we're only worried about
No.
one. If they want the other one, they put their own in on a U-turn drive or whatever it is, but I'm just saying that
Well,
something simple down the road, so
This would
everybody.
get you out of the resident not being there anymore, no solid waste disposal. You still got a culvert. Oh, God. Somebody probably saw that
Yeah.
online.
They've been watching. Well, those are all elements that go into it, and that's part and parcel of the problem, putting something together that isn't 87 pages long, but does kind of cover the general scope of what we're doing.
I mean, on the size of culvert, would you maybe put whatever is appropriate?
Yeah, I think,
For
well,
use?
I think we could set a minimum standard, because we know that a very minimum is gonna be such and such, and then justification for anything larger than that would have to be by the applicant or requesting party, owner of the land, however we want to refer to them. I can do that one I can foresee working. I'm just trying to figure out, that old, it's nice if you can, the simpler you can keep it, and, at one point it was, we'll install one
Yeah.
for a tract. Well, it used to be that tract was defined as a section. That's just not practical anymore. So, I can still say tract, but that tract is, whatever you come with.
Whatever the tract is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's 40, then that's your deal.
I also like the road and bridge to have part of it, because you have seen what somebody else put in that picture down there, last year. What road that was that where they built it up and it stuck out in our, because it was higher, they had to get higher for the field.
Oh, yeah. It's right over there
Yeah.
to the west, south shop and to
But
the
anyway,
south.
that stuck out in our road and
Yeah.
caused our road problem. That's why I'd still like to see, as long as.
No, all of these would presuppose, that one is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
That it's all done with the supervision and approval of county staff.
Yeah.
Because they're putting it in our ditch. Let's face it, I mean, it's public roadway to that extent with easements. And so how it sits, how big it is, what it'll accommodate, how high it is, what it looks like surface-wise, all would have to be something we do the inspection. So even if, and again, we can keep it that it will be installed by the county in each instance if you want, if we've got the ability to, and manpower to do it at their expense, and we give them the quote up front. If they don't want to do it, then they don't. If they do, they know what they're going to pay. But there again, bear in mind, when I kind of made a couple of calls about that at one point, some of the counties were like, they want it before harvest. They want it in 3 weeks. We can't get to it that fast. Well, they can do it. Okay, so they set theirs that it could be installed by a private individual, but I said, but it would still seem simple enough to me, and I would do it that way, I think, that would only be if we authorized that. So
Could that be based on an approval and inspection by the
Yes.
county engineer?
Either way, yeah. Because that wouldn't take that much time, and he could get out and take a look at it, know what they were doing.
Because believe it or not, and we all know it, they're hiring these guys in the green tractors. Those guys are everywhere in our county building stuff. I don't know who they are, but they're big time, and they move dirt just as quick as anybody.
Yeah.
And then there's other contractors that move dirt and there's people like the guy at Gossel, John, whatever his name is, his last name, that does a lot of backhoe work and that kind of stuff. And we've hired him to do ditch work for us over here, and he.
There's no
does-
question, there's guys out there that can do it as well and better than we ever could, and I get that. It's just making sure it's one of them that does it,
Yep.
or that we've had approval
Yep.
of what was done. Well, it sounds like the thing I need to do is just take a shot at that without much guidance. And then if you read it and go, that's not what we had in mind.
We have
we'll
a
change it
commission
again.
chairman that he would lead you in that.
Isn't that part of the job description?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be consensus
That's
from the
the
others.
other.
Oh, okay.
That comes along with that extra pay.
Well, then I guess we'll just do it.
Take a shot
That'll
at
make
something.
it easy.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on minimum width? That would be one thing that we could.
As far as culverts. I mean, if they're paying for the culvert material,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
I know this is cheap, but let's give you a suggestion. Let's say $350 for a 24-foot and $550 for a 40-footer. If it was, that's too cheap. Getting by the culverts for that probably. But I'm just saying, is that what you would look for, is a minimum, or?
Have to be market price.
Yeah, like whatever we gotta replace it for.
Yeah.
So that piece sitting there, you want that much, okay. We gotta look up what it's gonna cost us to put that piece back on the rack.
I think in your policy, you wouldn't want the actual dollars.
Okay.
You would want a statement, it would be that,
Okay.
whatever the.
Well, and you could do it that way, yeah.
A replacement cost, so.
Replacement cost, yeah.
But I suspect that we could put, the culverts, at a minimum would always, that we're gonna install no matter where, would be no less than
Yeah.
24 feet.
I mean, for half. But if you have a pickup, fifth wheel, or a pickup and a trailer,
Yeah.
you like 30 to 40s.
Yeah, you drop those wheels off pretty easy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the way with me. I've got a pickup and a trailer, and I like wide culverts. Whether I'm.
You get you some slide axles.
I got a triple axle, but it's, yeah,
Okay.
short trailer.
That's all my battery work.
Well, I'm glad we can make it very
It's that, yes.
specific.
As much?
Well, I'll start from that, and then I can always have the chairman weigh in.
I see. Good.
I'll tell her just exactly how it's going to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
We refer back to the encroachment policy a little bit. We've never really put any teeth in that.
No.
We've rebuilt roads in the last 2 years that are being that the ditches are being farmed again. And it aggravates the maintainer, but he doesn't feel like he needs to stop and tell his neighbor to quit farming what he just fixed.
Yeah, especially if he lives near him.
And, I mean, we've got crops growing all the way out to the edges of the roads. I mean,
We really do. I mean, I can think of a number of them out in the corner.
well, it's all over, especially the west side of the county, up and down. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of teeth you put into that. They're causing damage.
Yes, I mean, it is there's several different ways, but it is a form of trespass. Because the property is owned by another entity, whether it's the public or another property owner. It's really no different in terms of the theory. So it is prosecutable, and I suppose we can set it as a standard fine and resolution form. We would still have to pass it through the court in order to satisfy due process, but it's doable. If it's bad enough to let people know, make a point of it, that's how we do it. It's prosecuted.
And I don't think we're even doing a letter or anything.
No, nothing right
So
now.
if it
Yeah,
needs
I
to be
mean,
reported
we
and
were
then
supposed to-
automatically a letter go out.
We were supposed to, if a maintainer or somebody saw somebody doing that, to let us
That was
know,
the
let
theory.
the department head know, so they can allow you to produce a letter. But I just don't think it's happening.
What would happen if we go kept it mowed down?
And do what?
Just mow it.
Keep it
You
mowed
can.
down.
You can.
I mean, right before
I mean, I
harvest,
see- I
mow
seen
it
that
down
happen.
every year.
seen it happen. I thought the guy was really brave,
Yeah.
but he was out there
Yeah.
mowing ditches and it was 5 feet into a field.
Bulletproof cab, but you know, it's.
We also paid a guy one time for an irrigation head that was in the road so he could water his ditch, so he'd get good grass that would match his yard.
Oh.
It was actually, he actually put the sprinkler head, underground sprinkler heads, so within that far of where the maintainer usually goes. Well, the next maintainer, he took them off. And we actually paid for that.
That only cost $5.
Yeah, that's beside the point.
Now, the rest of the story is that commissioner thought it was over in the guy's yard.
When he called me up, I thought we had actually damaged a circle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounded to me on the phone.
Yeah, sprinkler head.
Yeah, it's the lawn irrigation. Yeah, you had me in circle at the beginning. I was really thinking you were talking about a circle.
No,
Thinking the head
I'm
come
talking-
back into the yard, and I was
talking
like,
about the yards.
Just the little-
Irrigation
Like a
system.
main tree.
But yeah, the ability to act upon it is there if we choose to do so. Any kind of a public easement. Setbacks in a city, for example, you build something on it, you get the letter and says you're encroaching. You got two choices, move it or we'll move it for you. And whichever way it happens, there's going to be a cost factor to that. And you can also, in addition to that, besides the remediation, charge them for the trespass.
setback easements. You
But
have
I-
to mow it too in the city.
Yeah, the question would be on this, which way you want to, I mean, do we want to change the wording to make that have a little more teeth in it? But it really, it can work now if someone like running a maintainer will pick up the phone and call and say, here it is.
That's, I think that was our thought process, was that those would be turned in.
Because there's no other way for us to know unless
Yeah.
somebody goes out and polices
It
it.
should be the section there.
Yeah.
And would the road and bridge send that out or the
Mhm.
county clerk?
Well, you mean the letter?
Yeah.
There's any choice there, but normally it probably ends up being me sending it
Yeah,
out.
probably county council.
It's either the county clerk or me, and I vote county clerk, but she doesn't want to do
This
I vote.
road and bridge secretary
She's got
would
that,
deal with you
that.
then.
Yeah.
I think your title on there, now whether you let her use that title or not, that's another question.
I could have a lot of fun
Yeah, I'm
being
sure
an
she could.
honorary attorney.
But yeah, no, if we could get some kind of an established
I'd say
process.
letters first
Yeah.
and put in your policy, letters first, maybe, if the commission feels that way. And then some sort of written fine or whatever the next action is we'll take, which would be go grade it up or do something like that. Because Kent's right, we haven't done much with it.
Okay.
He's back.
Yes. Okay. Are we planning on getting out here by noon or?
I don't think so, unless you have other things.
Well, we got the gap fuel bid, and then I thought there was one more
Yeah.
executive session.
So I was gonna go ahead and take care of that.
Okay. Good.
So, just a second, we go back into. or back
Well,
up-
okay,
Back in
so
administrative business already.
here's the other thing. You already took an action
Oh, that's-
to direct the attorney
Yes.
to do something. Since it was a work session, do they need to redo that during the
Mhm.
administrative? Yeah,
Mhm.
because.
I just assumed that we were doing, that I missed something at the beginning and it went from a work session to a special meeting. If it's just a work session, then we'll need to do it.
Okay.
I mean, because they did add an administrative at the end, because this segment of the meeting is all work session.
Mhm.
So that they need to just ratify their previous action that they, or redo the action they took during the work session if they go back ahead.
Yes. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
think about it at the time.
I appreciate you watching out for us.
Yes.
So, we are now in administrative business.
I would still, yes.
Now.
The way this, yes.
Okay, so we are now in administrative business. Mr. Commissioner Gary.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve EPS for area 1, 2, and 3. Apparent low bidder on fuel.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Garing, second by Commissioner Dalkey. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
And then, we'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the board order for the charity sign on Kelly.
Oh, on that, I think,
Oh, yeah,
Text.
she and I communicated, did she send you anything this
no,
morning?
well, I don't know, I don't
Have you-
think so.
Well, before you came in?
No.
Yeah, okay. About the covering cost, she was gonna go ahead and take a shot at some language to add to the contract for that and get it to us this week, I think is how she worded the last email to me. And so I haven't seen it as of this
Okay.
morning. She probably just needs a little more time to do that.
Okay.
Because otherwise, it was certainly approvable, but thought we would like to have it in there based on our discussion, so I had asked her about that.
Okay, so we'll catch it next week.
Yeah, should be fun. That just adds a little delay there, but
Okay.
I think she'll get that to us.
Pretty sure that was my note for tax.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll wait to approve that order until the agreement is signed. The other one would be, Commissioner Mueller, you
Yes.
had made a motion to
Yes.
authorize county councilor to negotiate for property acquisition, seconded by Commissioner Dalkey.
Yes. So I need to redo that.
Yes.
I move to authorize our attorney to negotiate for acquisition of property.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Now I think we're back to road policies.
Okay.
Brad's gonna try to incorporate our hard fought, very specific direction on what direction to take.
Why is he still chuckling?
Like, because Brad likes cats.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't mind hurting them.
Okay.
I think there was a question about if there's a culvert policy developed, the minimum width, what would that be?
I've always been told we stick with 30 feet. Now, I've heard, and anything over 30 feet that the landowners pay invoice price to replace, basically per foot for above that. I don't know if that's written down or not. I don't think it is. So, for the most part, I look at the fact is I think 30 foot is pretty much workable for anybody, except for special conditions if they have a deep ditch. The deeper the ditch, the more you have to put your slopes in. It may take a longer pipe. But like I said, typically that's what we went with. Most of the people that we replace these culverts for have culverts that are in the 20 to 24 foot range. They've been in there with concrete pipes. They've been in there ever since the road was built.
Yeah.
Equipment has changed so much since then. Most people don't have a problem with it. The fact is, some people say, well, I want a 60-foot pipe, and I said, well, you gotta pay for the extra 30 foot, so it does make a huge expense. But again, if that's policies written down, I don't know what it's at.
So we're
So,
gonna make it written.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about what I'd seen in a number of just notations were 24 footers, and so I assumed that at one time was the standard, and I think that's what we were discussing. And like those old, you're right, those concrete ones, I think they were not, I don't remember seeing anything 30 on some of those really old ones. 24 seemed to be.
yeah, well, back then, they were making a concrete pipe by hand, and,
Yeah.
compared to how they make it now. But
How would you feel though, Bryce, if there was, we know that metal's going up, culvert's gonna go up, stuff like that, and we're not in the business to lose money, but, and the commission would have to vote on it if there was on every culvert so much per foot, depending on the replacement cost.
Mhm.
Would that be an easier way for you to do something?
Well, yeah, and that's all I'm doing is just trying to, because I got people, I need a 60-foot culvert.
Yeah.
Well,
That's 20 feet over minimum, so you pay the 20.
30 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Based on 30.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go to 40 or whatever else, we can do that. It's up to you. But the 30 is nice because they're pretty easy to haul.
Okay.
We haul the 40 footers on our trailers, it sticks out quite a ways behind it. we've done it. You know, you start, I think you start, I would say, you start developing a premium when you get to the longer lengths. And the fact is that they're just a lot tougher to, more to handle. But, and typically what I do is I'll just call up and due to the variability, I'll just call up and say, okay, what are we looking at for a unit price? You know, I called on one that the guy wants to install now, and the difference between the gauges, it was about 35 to 45, so on average it'd be $40 per foot. It has been up to 60. So,
Difference between one and two? Yeah.
well, I mean, no, just the price per foot was $60.
That's, oh, per pipe, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, so I'm just trying to be as,
So then with pricing, it'd be
30 times 60 is $1,800.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
well, and what was funny was he wanted a 60-foot pipe, and we told him that, and he said, no, he says, I don't own the land, I just rent it, so therefore I don't want to spend the extra money.
Okay.
You know, but if the county can put it in, then.
That's,
you know.
that's the thing that I've
Yeah.
heard ever since,
Yeah.
well, if county gonna do it, why
Yeah,
does it do it?
well,
Yeah.
and the other thing
big
is, yeah, the other thing is I have no problem going over the 30-foot if we can make a dual entrance with a neighbor. You know, have their property line, you know, get 'em, because that's beneficial to both. They get a bigger driveway, they both can deal with it. Plus, I may be able to get rid of 2 entrances just over
That
one.
$60 a foot, was that 24 lower or
Yes.
24 up?
That was a 24-inch.
24 inch,
Yeah.
okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, same with the residential, commercial being on the same mile.
$800 over for.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So if
And that was just if you're homeless.
Get to the residential, it's a quarter of a mile, and get to the commercial, it's another quarter of a mile. Well, that cuts your commercial down by a quarter of a mile.
Use the 30.
Yes.
Okay.
Does the commission still, which way do we feel? Some sort of charge, if it's up to $60 a foot, that's $1,800 a culvert.
I think it's a minimum footage, this is the standard, 30 feet per single entrance. And anything over that, you pay replacement cost.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is a cost for that. Right now, we're spending $1,800 just for the culvert, at 60. You
We're doing
want
30.
to foot it through the county, or you want to have a charge for that?
The 60-foot?
No, 30 foot,
30
it's a
foot.
standard deal.
Anything over 30, well, and,
Yeah.
you know, what we've done in the past is if that's what you want, just send us a check and we run it through that way. But I don't know how else to do it.
You're asking if you want it all to be replacement cost.
Well, that's, or
Yeah.
something, I mean,
So whether you get a 30-footer, you get a 60-footer, you're paying the replacement cost to put it back on the shelf.
yep.
Gotcha. I mean,
That's
and-
what I'm asking the commission.
The first 30-foot is free?
No,
No.
I said just cost period.
Yeah.
Because
The,
you're spending that no matter what.
Yeah.
yeah, we're very fortunate because due to our volume and our contract, we get them considerably less than what the private does. Where this really came in the past was people were calling up and they'd buy culverts from us
Yes,
because they were half price whatever else that they could go get. Well, we were
Yeah.
always running out of culverts,
yes.
you know, going through culverts so fast. So that's kind of where I think where the whole thing kind of got started was, you know, going through culverts so fast.
Some of our culvert cost orders was 40,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
30, 40,000, so.
That's another good question, because you mentioned that before and I forgot to ask. If we do have someone approach us, who is a county resident taxpayer, and they've got 2 or 3 on their lane road and they want to buy one from the county, do we want to prohibit that entirely or at some set cost?
We have said no.
Okay.
Simply because, then again, you know, one, I've got a lot of people looking for used culverts. Used culverts don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically, once you take them out, they're done, they're rusted in two, they go to scrap. But, you know, they've had used ones in the past, so. And like I said, it's not as though we don't want to, but man, just trying to keep up with that, you know. And especially if they can, to say they can get them at a reduced price, I understand that, but yet that's not affecting us, that we have to start turning around and replace them, and that replacement cost could be higher than what we bought them for. Anyway.
And how often do you get hit up for a culvert? I mean, is it,
Usually it's a couple times a year.
and it's on existing locations?
They don't really say. They just want to buy culverts. A lot of them want to buy it for their private land.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when you go out and handle it, and we're talking about this fee, is it,
Us putting them in, yeah.
and then?
I've talked to some people that, we've been extremely swamped and they needed it. I said, well, I'll furnish a pipe. And they said, I'll put it in,
Right.
you know, so.
But is it for a new residence? Is it for a
Most of them are entrances.
field
Yeah.
entrance? Because the field entrance changed.
Well, most of them, we're just widening them out. And most of the time, the concrete culverts are in the 15 to 18 inch range in diameter. I would like to stick with 24 inch simply because we have less maintenance issues down the road. They don't plug up as bad, but there's times when we can't, so we do go smaller. But that's just, and then that's a KDOT policy as well. They like to go no less than 24.
So-
And honestly, with the volume, the 24s are as cheaper than the smaller ones.
We have a local supplier selling them now, so why would we want to sell them?
Really?
Culverts?
Who?
Right in Hillsborough there. Bumgards sell culverts.
Oh, the plastic ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't use plastic.
Right.
Well, we don't. but-
Yeah, and that's what a
They
lot of
could.
people, yeah, they're really nice because they're very easy to handle. The only downside that I can think of is you don't want them around fire. Because they act like
I know.
Venturi and they go right on through,
I know.
so.
I put one out.
Yep. So.
They can fire really
I think
fast.
after hearing what the majority of your calls are on culverts, I think Randy's thought there is probably the one to go with, not a minimum. It's just, this is what the cost is per foot
If
for us to
you're
replace.
replacing one, yeah.
Okay.
Or making an improvement, or building a new house,
But there-
or,
There is some people been on the list for quite a while that hasn't had a culvert yet, so just, yeah, somebody.
Well, when we're working on, this.
Okay.
Well, would they be grandfathered?
they'd be grandfathered
Well, I just
in.
asking.
Well, and honestly, I don't think we have a lot of them left.
Okay.
We have
Good.
really hit them up in the last couple months.
Good.
But like I said, I do know there's one or two that I know of, but.
Yeah, make sure you grandfather them in and clean the slate.
Yep. Okay.
Everything's settled.
But Bryce isn't making a change until you have this policy
Yes.
done, correct?
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah, the policy change doesn't go into effect.
Yeah, so they're not even grandfathered yet, you just still got this status
Yep.
quo.
Policy, yeah, it's still
Yep.
status quo. But there'll be a whole
But
bunch
if
of
there's any
calls.
left.
There will be a lot of calls coming.
Well, no.
Yeah, I need to call you.
Effective as of February 28th for grandfather.
All right, anything else?
As far as administrative or Brad or what?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a couple things real quick.
Okay.
The federal
Double
fund
check.
exchange has been moved, it's typically in the February range. For whatever reason, with the new federal funding and everything else, they moved that off till March or April. Typically, we go in and like almost every county in the state, we ask for federal fund exchange. We get 90 cents on the dollar out of the federal money that we get. Just FYI, if they push that off. We've done that every year, and that way we don't have to deal with all the federal requirements for that money. So, but that's been pushed off. I did get word that Everidge should be moving in the drill rig over by the Jade substation, so they will be in and around the county, coming that way, working on things, just FYI. And I contacted the cat man about, we were talking about trying to get motor graders again this year, and he said the way to see her, if you get them now, you'll get them in 2023. So again, we're that 10 to 12 months off, but they did come up with, he has two township trade-ins. One, they're be just similar to what we purchased new. One's a 2016 with 1,900 hours, and the other's a 2017 with 2,800 hours. that we could purchase with an extended warranty up to 4,000 hours. One of them was 265,000, the one was 258,000. They'd be the same 6-wheel drive, or the front wheel assist that we ordered. So I didn't know if the commission,
The new one's 350.
372. So you're saving $100,000 for, I mean, very good units. I mean, this 6 years old and only has 1,900 hours.
But these 18s and 17s.
No, the 16 had 1,900 hours and the 17 had 20.
Oh, 16, 17, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Year
So,
olds.
Commissioner's thoughts?
Does that work into the kind of rotation basis we talked about?
Well, it's definitely better than what we have. We're talking about getting rid of the Volvos. That's the main push.
And how many are we getting rid of?
Well, we talked about when we get these first motor graders in, we're gonna get rid of 3, and then we could put another 2 on top of it.
When we get the 2 that we just financed?
Yeah, yeah.
When are we gonna get them?
It's supposed to be one at the end of March, and another one 1st of April, as of 2 weeks ago, I believe.
How
So
many
you just
total
put
do we
them
have?
on
Because-
Purple Wave or Big Iron or
Yep.
something?
Purple Wave, what we've done in the past.
Do we have other equipment we need to get rid of?
A couple things, we're looking at that
'Cause
too.
I mean, it's prime time to be selling that
Well,
stuff.
and honestly, I think we will be shocked at the price, even for these older machines. Some of these older machines are probably bringing pretty close to new price when they were purchased. It's crazy. I mean, almost 6 figures for these machines that are 15 years old with 15,000 hours. It's just, if people
Well, I
can't.
mean, let's not let them sit around.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They, if we can't, if they can't get new ones, then they're looking to, so. But anyway, these are available. I don't know if you guys
on
want
Purple
to.
Wave now.
Why
So
not?
that-
Well, yeah, because it is gonna take us some time to get them turned around. You know, couple weeks to a month probably before because they come out and take pictures and
Right.
all that stuff. So, yeah, we've been talking.
That's
yeah.
what he's getting.
Yeah,
Just making sure that wasn't,
Yeah.
let's wait for.
Whatever
No.
the process is to get them listed, we
Yeah.
need to do that.
Well, that's what we had talked about that. You started on it, so.
On that same line, the health department vehicle that's older, they're not using it. And so when we do our next round on Purple Wave, is the commissioners, is
that-
the commission okay with whoever's doing that, helping
that Tahoe or
Kristen get that
whatever.
listed? Yeah.
Okay. When they call.
Is that
them.
okay with,
Yes.
What
What does it say there?
what?
Do
What
they
are they
have?
using for a vehicle?
They're using personal vehicles and turning in mileage part of the time, because
yes.
that one doesn't always start when they're afraid to drive it very far. And Krista was in asking me what the process is about getting bids for a new vehicle, and I did explain that she does have money in her budget, but if we're gonna be doing, usually we kind of do a group of items, so if there's somebody doing a Purple Wave sale, if the board's okay with getting rid of that, it would be nice to include that when they're doing this.
I don't know, anybody else will check, because like Park and Lake did last time, I don't know if they had anything you can.
I mean, unless the board is not okay with getting rid of it.
On these
Well, you just let it sit.
two here, how would
Use
it
it for all the COVID
work
things.
into your rotation?
Just like the other ones,
I mean,
replace the older
so
ones. and-
we wouldn't order,
We wouldn't order, we wouldn't order for 2022.
we, the ones we get in 23,
Yeah,
we wouldn't order those now.
correct. If you want me to, I can send you the information, whatever else. It just, like he said, they're going through the shop now, and they're like anybody else, they'll go to the first people to sign with dotted line,
But
so,
imagine they disappear pretty fast.
just like everything else, you know.
Do we physically have the money to buy them right now?
Well, we do the same thing, turn it around to a
Lease purchase.
lease purchase thing. that we do.
I
Even
think
at that, do you still have enough money to do it?
Yeah.
mean, that's-
I think-
As far as lease purchase.
I think we jumped through some hoops to do the lease purchase. I think we ought to just stick with the new units. That's my personal opinion. I don't think we ought to be getting any 2016s.
That's
or
what I was asking
2017s.
about, the rotation of the equipment.
I think we just
So that makes
always
sense.
stick with a new unit.
Okay.
Just try to keep that, because then you're gonna have less.
Okay, so let's just take those 2 years that he just did, 16 and model 16 and model what?
17.
17. Okay, so you bought them now, you've saved $200,000 by buying them used equipment. So later in the rotation then.
They
what-
gotta come out first.
They would come out first is what I'm getting at. So you're not, Kent's question's on rotation. So they would the models would come up first, 16, 17, because they got so many hours and so on that. Does that, I don't know that that would affect your rotation, Ken, is what I'm getting at, because
Well,
they
it
would
may
come up
not,
first.
you know,
Yeah.
you may just shorten up your lease purchase. too.
Well, yeah, you might do that.
Instead of a 5-year, you do a
Yes.
4-year or
Yes.
whatever.
Mhm.
And again, and you hate to say you're buying something used, but townships aren't gonna work things over.
They're probably pretty good machines.
Yeah.
Depends on the townships they come out of. I mean, if they come
Well-
out like Burns area down in there with rock and stuff, they could have been beat pretty hard.
Okay, so if
So how's the one that we bought last year doing, used one?
Real well. Yeah, we haven't had problems with it.
So if the commission's direction is to go with the 2 new units and the backlog, is it time to get that process going?
You need time, because like I said, that's just what he's being told is, we start that process now and see when they
If
show
you're,
up.
if you're not gonna move on the used units, then we need to move on the new units.
Yeah, 'cause it's time
Yeah.
to set the next two, right?
Yeah.
Everything's a year out.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's the direction.
see, I mean, that's what we thought, we'd get the ones for last year, maybe by the end of the year, where they
Right.
kept pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off, so.
This would
Okay,
be December, one thing, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Both
okay.
of those machines would have the same warranty then?
No, they would only go up to 4,000 hours compared to what?
What's a new one?
6,000, so we go 6 years, 6,000 hours.
And how many hours are we averaging a year?
Roughly 1,000. And of course, we talked about if we've got these new machines and we're getting close to hours, we make sure that we don't go over those hours because, we
Yeah.
don't want to have problems with the lease, so. But we'll just watch those through the years.
I think the effort was made to get new ones in the rotation and just,
Okay.
But we're just doing a lease purchase to purchase, we're not doing a lease.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
We own them
It's
now.
a
We own
lease
them when
purchase,
it's
we're
paid.
buying
Yeah.
them, so if you're gonna keep rotating in, maybe you should be looking at a lease, like a fleet.
With 6,000 hours, I'd be turning back in.
Right.
With
and
6
get a
years-
new one, because
6
that's
years
not
is-
what we did, the
Well,
last
but
ones we
what-
just bought.
What we had talked about was the lease purchases, when we got back, basically it acts as the same thing as, at the end of that time, you say, hey, we want a new blade, they take that value and apply it towards the new blade.
When
Get a
you
new
trade it
blade.
in.
Yeah,
When we sell it. Open market.
Right now, we're buying a piece of two new
We
track,
just-
or graders, and they're ours, period, right?
Yes.
Okay,
at the, well, yes, at the end of that time.
Lease
Yes.
purchase that you own at the end.
yes, yes.
if
Well,
you make the balloon payment.
Yeah,
This doesn't
There's-
have a balloon payment.
They don't have
I
dual
don't think very
payments.
many of them have balloon payments.
You used to be able to get that, Jonah. We used to be able to do that and have a balloon payment at the end.
And then skip the balloon
And
payment.
we overlooked
You
one.
can, I mean, you can
Yes.
request that in your financing, I
Yes.
think.
You can, yeah, you can do that 2 different ways there.
yeah. Okay, anyway, we'll work on the new ones anyway.
So the board feels not to look at these used ones. I'm just asking.
That's what I'm hearing.
What does Bryce recommend?
I'm just looking at the fact, just trying to get equipment, that's,
So we have 2 more that those would need to replace. We're
Yes,
getting close
yes.
on ours.
oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, like I said, the biggest push is trying to get rid of those Volvos, because they're killing us.
Well, what were the 2 that we bought replacing? I thought they was replacing the Volvos.
We were gonna go with a Volvo and one other one, and then the next 2 we're gonna replace the other 2 Volvos. We've got one of them that's really causing us problems, but now that we've got, but anyway,
So we got 2
But
Volvos
anyway,
out there. If we
yeah.
break down, we pay, we have no warranty.
We got
on
enough.
what? On which ones?
Volvos.
Correct, we're paying everything on
The
it.
reason why I mentioned that 16 and 17, Jonah, when you said that, was because would that year be 26 or 28, probably 10 years? Would that have the maximum number of hours, or would you figure 12 or 14 years?
Well, again, that depends on use. We just figure 1,000 hours per year. You'd always hope that if you have a machine from the start, that you'd be, keeping good care of it, that you wouldn't have any problems, that you could run it out to the 15,000 hours.
15,000 hours,
Yeah.
somewhere up in there. So,
But
so
you just
2,000
have-
hours or 3,000 hours on them, you're gonna have them 10 years anyway.
Yeah.
10 more, so.
Yeah.
I would just look at that, so, but if they would be ahead of the new ones that you're gonna get, they would come up on that 15,000 hour mark before the new ones that we're gonna get.
Yeah.
That we bought,
Plus,
so.
we'd be getting rid of two machines that have no warranty,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
could be,
yeah.
I mean, if one of those goes
Well-
down, we aren't gonna fix it, we're gonna put it on Purple Wave, and then we'll get
Well, we've-
25 cents on
Are
the
you,
Yes.
are you full up on Blademan?
We are, as long as James is filling in for section 6. And we have one guy that we've talked to, but he hasn't returned his application that lives over there that was interested in it. But otherwise, we're,
Okay, so all machines are,
yeah,
And you're looking for a total to carry 12 machines
yes,
when we're done?
yes.
No extras sitting around?
Well, we shouldn't have to have any extras because all of our machines should be taken care of
yeah,
with warranty issues as well, so,
once you get there.
yeah.
I'm just gonna throw it out, make a motion that we, are we still in administrative?
Yes.
I just make a motion that we look at these little 2 used machines and offer to go through lease purchase again, see what we can do.
And they're gonna go completely through the shop.
Yeah,
And then,
and I
and
mean,
then at that point, we've got 4,000 hours for
up
warranty.
to the 4,000 hours, yeah.
Up to 4,000.
Right,
We
so-
don't get an
Another-
additional
correct,
4,000.
that's the way I
We
understand
got
it.
2,000 more hours on it.
So we got 2 years worth of warranty,
2 years.
basically, we're looking at.
Now, and honestly, I mean, I would like to say that there, nothing would go wrong during that time, but you just never
Yeah, I
know.
can't say that.
You know, again, not knowing who used them, but I mean, you know, they're very low hours for the years, so.
I don't know. If we do a 4-year lease purchase on those used though, we only gonna have 2 years worth of warranty.
Yes, yes.
And conceivably, it won't be a problem, but conceivably it could be a big problem. You got an engine go down, transmission.
Well, yeah,
And then what's that set you back on your original process?
yeah.
of-
Well, it's like I can tell you with those Volvos, we had something wrong go ahead and it was 30 grand just to get it up and back running.
It's kind of a catch-22, because it'd be good if you could get rid of those.
Quickly.
What we're worried about is, you know, that with the old H's, it's not a problem. With all these new ones is, it's the computer and electronics that are bad.
So the sale of the equipment goes right back into the road and bridge?
Goes into the special equipment.
Special
fund.
equipment.
Yep.
So could you sell those, put that in special equipment and designate it
Sure.
as, you know, for a base, I don't know,
Lease payments.
so that you'd know, oh, we got 2 years left to play on a lease purchase and we need to spend 50 grand on this thing. We'd be taking that money that we got back from those other machines and we could stick them back in this machine if it had to go, if it went down. I mean, it'd be in the same fund, but kind of broke out. You know, the stuff that you're selling, kind of keep it broke out to be used for maintenance.
Well, I don't know how that works, but I mean,
I mean, it's all in special equipment, but then maybe like a separate line item that the stuff that you sell goes in there and it'd be used for nothing but maintenance.
And what would happen is, if you want to spend some of that, you'd have to come ask us for permission to spend that on equipment instead of repairs.
sure. Okay.
So I thought I heard a motion.
I don't know, it's just,
You did hear the motion, but I would suspend that motion to be answered next week, same time, same place.
There probably won't be an issue because they'll be sold by then. so.
Okay.
Same time, same place, we won't be here.
Okay.
So you just
Be
retracted your
retracted
motion?
as a motion.
yeah, you can check and see if they're still there next week.
I don't think they will be.
Like I said, I think, me personally, we went through this, built the spreadsheet, we decided to go with the 6 year. There was a lot of effort that went into staying this course, and I'm gonna stay this course. That's
Sounds
just
good.
where I'm at.
Maybe next week you'll have
You might
the rebids for the
Sure.
new one.
Yeah, you might change them up, but
I don't know, I like to try to get it streamlined.
Was this spreadsheet developed with a numbers of it costing us 800 grand for two every.
Well,
That's something that I'll tell you right
Next
quick, like,
line.
that
It's gonna
spreadsheet that
be-
you're talking about is a cheaper price and an older price than compared to what these two new ones are.
Yeah.
It hit me in my pocketbook and just a few pennies, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
What the price of new ones are.
Yeah.
Wait till next year.
Yeah, following year is gonna be even worse.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Bryce. Anything else? If not, our next meeting will be, I can't see the calendar, March 6th,
7.
March 7th,
Oh.
12:30. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gearing, second by Commissioner Dalkey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We are adjourned.
Now, next 2 weeks or a month from now, I get to say, I told you so.
You will,
Have a good day, guys.
you will.